the same numbers, right? So, for example, that wouldn't be a good example. But anyhow, what we're talking about whenever we're talking about relative identity is a thing that retains its identity even though it's different in respect to some given predicate, right? So in the example that I gave and you agreed with, whenever I'm saying that I'm the same person I was 5 minutes ago, I'm making a relative identity statement because I'm saying that I retain the identity of the person that I am, Milos, even though there is some other way in which I am not, some predicates that I do not hold, right? So whenever we're talking about how that relates to like the Christian Trinity, we can say that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are essentially identical. They are identical in essence, yet they differ in relation to certain like personal attributes or whatever. So I really don't see how you would be able to establish that. You're conceding that relative identity is true in like temporal sequences or whatever the case is in this one, but you really haven't made a clear distinction between how temporal sequencing is the only instance in which relative identity holds, right? So I don't
So
follow the reasoning. I think it's just kind of a claim rather than a line of reasoning.
so it in temporal senses, it must in order to uphold its singularity. Now, if you don't want to use that, you want to use another way, for example, matter or space, that would have a relation that is in they would be materially separate, which would be two instances, not one. So in the case of the Trinity, there is no third feature. You would agree that they're not distinguished by space, time, or matter that allows for relative to be true. You
Yeah,
get what I'm trying to
so
say?
I don't think that maybe my example about the term I was looking for was Cartesian coordinates and radial coordinates. I don't think that was really understood. What I'm trying to say is if I'm trying to express a certain mathematical idea, and mathematical ideas in this sense are atemporal. They have no material existence or whatever the case is. I can express the same point in a given theoretical immaterial space, both in a Cartesian way and in a radial way, right? I wouldn't be able to do it now. I'm not familiar with radial coordinate planes, right? But you can do that, right? And so if I'm going to say something like this is the same point, I'm again making a relative identity statement. You know, the point 1, comma 1 in a Cartesian plane is the same in relation to, or in terms of its actual relation, yet is non-identical in terms of its referential coordinate axis, right? Whatever you would call that.
What do you
So I have provided an example of an atemporal, immaterial instance of relative identity holding.
So can you explain the two ways a bit better? I'm not following the two
uh,
things that you gave to
of of
the coordinates. The
coordinates.
coordinates, yeah. Give the
Well, I probably
example.
can't. I'm not super familiar with coordinate planes and math and so on and so forth. But if you look at, like, I don't know if you have like a TI-82 calculator or whatever the case is, just one of those graphing calculators. If you perform like sine, cosine, tangent operations, if that uh, operation is performed on a Cartesian system, it gives a different answer than on a radian system, right? So if I'm going to, so that's kind of a very poor example. I would really need someone that's more familiar with math to give a good example. But I know that this seems to me like it holds that we can make references to an identical thing, yet use different coordinate systems, and then we would still be talking about a relative a relative identity statement holding and being true that doesn't involve temporality or materiality, right? Which is what you said is the
Sure.
only reasons why temporal or relative identity holds in the relation of persons.
Not only, but sure, but there will still be two instances of coordinates, though.
Exactly. And so what I'm saying is the point that's being referred to is an identical point, even though these two it has two different it is not identical in terms of the coordinate planes, right? Like let's just imagine that there's two systems of coordinates. One is -1, -2, right? And somehow if I were to plot that onto a different system of coordinates, it would be in the same point in a theoretical plane. Once again, we're not talking about a material plane, but a theoretical plane, right? I can say in coordinate system X, -1, comma -2 is identical in location to coordinate system 3 comma 4 or whatever the case is. So I'm maintaining an identical referent even though there is a non-identical predication that can be made about both of those referents, right?
But there's still 2 points that are being made. They don't. That's what's being counted, right?
No, it's two distinct and non-identical coordinates, yet they map onto the same location, right? So I think this is an example of relative identity holding, but
So so it's very hard to visualize this. Perhaps I could give a critique of it being what's it called? Spatially separate, but I'm not really understanding your example. It's kind of hard to imagine that. Do you have So you said relative identity can be used in any case, right?
no, I didn't say that. I said that if relative identity holds in any case, then it is not the case that all identity statements must be made in a classical identity sense, right? And if it's true that the logical problem of the Trinity holds only on the case that identity statements must be made using classical identity, then according to Jake, which is what Jake says rather, then the force of the logical problem of the Trinity evaporates. There's no force to it because we have an exception. We've proved by exception.
S- Okay, well, firstly, I would say it's a little bit ad hoc, but that's not the main objection. Can you provide another example
What of relative identity statements?
in a non-temporal, non-material, non-spatial example? Yes.
No, I agree with you that it's very difficult to conceptualize atemporal and immaterial existences, right? But I can provide a number of temporal existences, and these would be or examples, and these would be much more easy to approach, and it would be something that the truths beyond these things they still seem to hold. Your claim that relative identity is tied to contingent features like materiality and temporality, I don't know how that could be supported, right? But have you ever considered, let's just say, um, just for the sake of another example, maybe we can consider the ship of Theseus, right? This is one of the consistent examples used whenever we talk about identity in general, right? So the ship of Theseus is a theoretical ship or whatever that happens in I think the Iliad, where the ship keeps getting like slightly broken, and so it begins its voyage as a ship made out of a certain set of wooden planks, right? As the voyage goes on, it just happens that every single plank is taken away from that ship. It falls off or whatever, and it's replaced with a replacement plank, right? So if the ship retains its identity as being the ship of Theseus at the end of its journey, then it retains its identity even though it is not even comprised of any of its originally constituent parts, right?
That's fine.
So
I'm not disagreeing with you. Any example you can give that has a temporal distinction and, separation, I'm not disagreeing with you. But
okay, but what stops that ship of Theseus example from not being like atemporal and immaterial, right? Like we can conceptualize merely like rather than it being an actual ship, it's a conceptualization of like an idea of a ship, right? Which would separate it from any sort of actual materiality and actual temporal existence, right? So if we replace the actual ship, which this ship probably didn't exist, and instead said we're talking about a story or whatever the case is, merely the idea of a ship, that idea of the ship, if that idea has constituent parts and so on and so forth, does it retain its identity at the beginning of the conceptual framework or whatever and the end? Well, I don't know, right? But if the ship of Theseus maintained its identity as being the ship of Theseus, even though it lost every single one of its constituent parts in the material example, an immaterial atemporal example of using, rather than an actual ship, a concept of a ship, seems like it would hold as well, to me at least.
yeah, so I think we're going in circles, to be honest, but I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you, but the problem is, you would have to like send something on non-temporal, non-material, non-spatial examples, like a paper or something, because I don't see how that would work in any way, shape, or form. But in um, I mean, at least holding singularity. If you give an example via like variables, right? X, Y, and Z have F, right? That like it's non-material, non-spatial, temporal, right? We would count that as three instances of F-ish subjects. That would negate the singularity that you would believe that there's one God. But with relative identity, at least, I don't see it working and maintaining its singularity. Now, in order to maintain singularity, you would have to use one of those three features. But if you want, if it, what's it called? If you if you don't want to, if what's it called, if you don't want to have those three features, that creates contingency, then you would have to have three subjects, which would deny the seventh premise of saying that there's only one God.
Okay, that's an interesting position. I'd like to know how you'd support that. Would you? That's very funny. Would you be willing to maybe follow up with me in the future?
Definitely.
If I can provide, would you agree that if I provide a an atemporal and immaterial existence of relative identity holding, would you then just concede that the logical problem of the Trinity then fails?
Also adding a spatial, I'm just trying to. So I've talked to many people. I've just been trying to, even me myself, I've tried to think of an example of how that would work, but I just don't see any case of it working in that sense.
Okay,
Um,
well, if you can, let's communicate in some way. I don't know if these guys are hooked up with you. They have some sort of communication after this or whatever. But
Just met him today.
I'll do if you give me some sort of contact information, I will do everything I can to provide you with an example that I think will be good of a case of relative identity holding in an atemporal immaterial instance. All right,
non-spatial
good stuff.
and non-spatial, but well, most of the examples that are given with relative identity, it holds those feet. Yeah, sure. I've personally never heard anything that that you would propose. So if you can prove that, that would be interesting.
Milos, help me out here. Have you guys ever heard of the of the analogy of holomorphic compounds?
I don't
You
know
guys,
what that is off the top of my head. Can you?
so, so um, pretty much the argue goes with uh, relativized identity and distinctions relations rather than and I'm reading here rather than absolute identity and distinction relations can work if one tells, and I'm kind of going in deep here, supplementary stories to explain the metaphysics. So pretty much with people like Jeffrey E. Brower, talks about how on their explanation of it, where the is of the statement that the Son is God and the Father is God is the is of numerical and quoting again, indeed essential rather than accidental, sameness rather than merely being the is of predication. You guys were talking about this earlier. But still quoting, it is not the is of identity, appealing to the analogy of holomorphic compounds, which was given by Aristotle, by the way, if you guys are familiar with him. Compounds, and applying this to the doctrine of the Trinity, Brower and Ray conclude that there are three divine persons who are really distinct and fully divine, while there is exactly one God. So that's why I was asking if you guys are familiar with the example of that, because you
This
have what?
this wouldn't happen to be the action and passion from Aristotle, would it?
No, this is McCall, analytic Christology. Hang on, it's a big one. Hang on. Here, can I share my screen real quick?
Sure.
There it is. Here you go. Analytic Christology and the theological interpretation of the New Testament. And for example, instead of instead of just scrolling all the way down, let me just
Control
do
F.
yeah.
E.
Because I know it talks about it here. So this is what I was talking about. This is pretty much what I was just quoting. This context here, and in the footnote, It's coming from Jeffrey E. Brower and Michael C. Ray. Material Constitution of and the Trinity, Faith and Philosophy is the reference that I'm referring to. I didn't know if you guys were familiar because that's where, you know, holomorphic compounds, which that's what Aristotle uses, and pretty much I didn't know if you guys were familiar with this or not, so I was just kind of curious um, in regards to that because they give that argumentation and appealing to that analogy, and utilizing that with what you guys were saying with distinctions versus absolute identity versus relative identity. They utilize that analogy and apply that to the doctrine of the Trinity, and they both conclude that there are three divine persons who are really distinct and fully divine, while there is exactly one God.
Yeah,
By that analogy.
I found what this is. So it's the bronze statue analogy. Have you heard of it, Milos?
I can't think of it off the top of my head. Can you state it,
Yeah. So the
please?
bronze. So from what I remember, so it's on Stanford Encyclopedia, but basically it's a a ball of brass, and there's a brass statue. Both share the same weight and material identity, but are distinct in their form. Same matter, distinct in form of how they are, you know, that's, yeah.
Yes, I do know that just broadly talking about like formal recomposition of matter and how that relates to identity in general is pretty frequently discussed. I didn't know it was called the broad statue analogy. I apologize.
Well, it also uses clay, but yeah, I've heard this example. The problem with it is that the the statue and the ball cannot exist simultaneously. It would have to be intervals. So that's the problem with it.
But is the bronze the same bronze? Does it maintain the identity of being? Does the material retain its material identity, even though it has a real distinction between some other aspect of it? Right. That's kind of like the relevant question,
It's
because a relative identity statement is saying that something is identical to this kind of other this non-identical thing in some sense, yet it retains that identity, right?
Yeah, it has the same material identity, the same bronze, the same ball and statue. They're both identical in the sense of the material bronze. Yeah.
So there you would say that there is some sort of identity that's retained between these two things. That there's a material identity that is retained. It's the same material, even though it's non-identical in form or arrangement, right?
Yep.
So you believe that there could. Okay, so I don't understand like kind of the problem then.
Well, I don't think it works though. That's a problem. Like in a relative sense, yeah, of course it makes sense. But when you try to, this isn't analogous to the Trinity, so I don't think it's even worth it to mention.
So a relative identity statement is a statement where you're saying that that object, that thing A and thing B are the same X,
Yeah.
yet thing A and thing B are not the same Y, or are different in respect to Y, right?
Same
And
subject. Yeah.
right. So on this, you're saying that the bronze material A that's in the shape of the Venus, the statue or whatever, and bronze material B that's in the shape of
A
the
ball.
ball, right? They're the same X, meaning the same bronze matter, but are different in respect to Y, the form.
Yeah.
So you're making a relative identity statement here as well.
Sure, I have no problem with that, but this, like I said, isn't analogous to the Trinity, so it's true.
Can I interject here real quick?
No.
Wow.
So you would agree, Milos, that in the Trinity, the persons are not separated via spatially or temporally. Because with the statue example, they don't exist. It's the same exact material bronze ball. It cannot be itself and the statue simultaneously. That doesn't make sense.
Okay, yeah, in some sense, you can say that a thing that transitions temporally from one thing to another, it can't um, occupy those same conditions simultaneously, right?
Yep.
But that actually makes that makes a few like assumptions there that things like eh, that things that hold like that, right? And so if you look at another interaction that Jake had was with Andrew Turnloke, right, or Dr. Andrew Turnloke, and Jake kind of pulled out of that conversation at a simple point, and or at a certain point of that, and Dr. Andrew Loke actually uploaded the transcript of their. It was agreed to be a written debate interaction, right? So an objection this was a written debate interaction about the incarnation in particular, and one of the points that Dr. Andrew Loke makes is that what we kind of now know about the laws of logic applying to the material world as well, we have some problems when it comes to like what we know about like quantum mechanics, and specifically it's the a law or the principle of the excluded middle or the law of the excluded middle there, right? So just because we're able to establish that like in like classical physics and so on and so forth, things that transition from that one temporal part is not identical to another temporal part in its form, the question of whether or not those temporal parts can exist simultaneously is a pretty difficult question to ask. That has like ideas about theories of time and other things like that play into that, right? So while that it may appear that way, maybe I don't know.
Well, in quantum mechanics, at least, it's still relatively new. It's a lot of theory. Even if you want to say that they both can exist simultaneously, you must count it as two subjects that are bronze. You cannot say it's one. You cannot uphold material identity and singularity. No, you can uphold material identity um, with singularity in a relative sense. I mean, in an
No, that's
absolute
precisely
sense.
what a relative identity statement is, where you establish singularity while also recognizing that there's a non-identicality in some respect. That's exactly what a relative identity statement is.
Yeah.
You agreed with me whenever I expressed what the definition of what a relative identity statement was, right?
Yeah, but yeah, with every analogy, there's always a feature that allows it to be relative.
Okay.
Okay, one quick question. Was Jesus after the resurrection a spirit or was he a man? And this is a genuine question because I need a little bit understanding on how this Trinity works. Like, after the resurrection, was he still a man or was he a spirit?
Those are two completely different questions. One is in relation to the incarnation, the other is in relation to the doctrine of the Trinity. Christ would still be God even if he didn't take on flesh before, during, or after the resurrection. But to actually answer your question, yes, Jesus was physically flesh. He was still flesh. Jesus appears to his disciples and says, touch me and see. A spirit, a phantasm, does not have flesh and bones as you see that I have. The definition of resurrection is that which was dead coming back to life again.
Okay, but in other verses of the Bible, it speaks about him showing up out of nowhere, which means that he literally appears as though he were some type of spirit. And then in other verses, it talks about how he shows up as a man, and like he says, touch me.
Black Doctor,
And
I think it may be useful to recognize like ask Derek here what he thinks the word man means. Like,
right.
is he talking about like a person? Does he think that man means human being? And maybe kind of explain the biblical position on that, because I
Yeah,
think that
born from
he's
a woman, right?
is that what you think like person means or man means?
Like a baby that came out of a woman's womb, a man.
Okay, so I think that what you're saying is you're asking, is Jesus post resurrection, is he material or is he immaterial, right?
Somewhat along those lines, yes.
Okay, and the evidence that you cited that you apparently think proves the immaterial existence of Jesus is you said that he appeared somewhere, right? But merely being able to like teleport yourself or whatever the case is on your kind of presentation of that passage, that doesn't entail non-materiality,
Mm-mm.
right?
It just means that you possess divine power.
Exactly.
Okay, guys, I get it. Said
My
Derek never.
was confused.
Well, it's because in some they
Wow.
like they're like, have we seen a ghost?
Okay, guys,
They're
I
like,
get
have
it.
we seen a ghost? And then that's when he tells them that he's not a ghost, right? So you're saying that his ability to appear and disappear means that he just had some type of powers now, that his post resurrection body was no longer just a regular body, it had some type of,
You mean his pre-resurrection body?
or like his, like after he was raised, right, on the third day or the second day, depending on which one you read, right?
No, Derek, don't be facetious. It's the third
I'm just
day. All of
saying,
them say the third day. Don't be
right?
facetious.
But how many days and how many nights we talking here?
Yeah,
So
you just
there's
don't know
another
how Jews
question.
count days. But again, carry on with your question without being facetious.
We
Okay, so
love how
after
you
he
guys
was,
try to start off with, guys, I'm just asking a genuine question. Like, for real, I'm just genuine.
I'm
I
just
really
saying,
want to
because
know.
And
after
we all
he
know
was,
it's a blatant lie.
Like,
We all
come
know
on.
that.
after he was raised, what was he?
Well,
Yeah,
what I
we
would say,
believe that he was a glorified man. When
what I would say,
when we again are glorified with him, we will have abilities that most people don't have. We will be empowered. We will be glorified. But that doesn't mean that we don't have flesh and bones, as Jesus himself designates. He doesn't find it rather odd that he can appear behind a locked door, but still obtain that he has flesh and bones, and that this is the same flesh that was crucified on Good Friday. He doesn't have that problem.
another passage that I would point to is in like John 20:28. Whenever Jesus kind of appears on the road here, which I guess Derek would consider an act of teleportation or whatever,
I
right?
suppose.
Maybe it does. I don't know. But after he does that, he clearly establishes his materiality, right? So in John 20:28, whenever his disciple Thomas touches him, his material body touches him. It's not a like hallucination or anything like that. That is what causes him to make the exclamation, "My Lord and my God," to Jesus, right?
Yep.
So the idea that it's beyond the power of God to like teleport in kind of Derek's kind of
No. My question
presentation,
is, was he
yet
I
fully
also
God
be
at that point?
material. I don't think that really follows, right? At least not according to the Bible. Maybe this is Derek's idea, right?
No, but was
Who
he fully
knows?
God at that point? After he had died in a physical form, was he fully God at that point?
He
Are you
was
like smiling
always
as you
fully
ask these
God.
questions? I think he already knows the answers to these questions. Like,
No, I really don't.
like Derek,
Because according
Derek,
to the Trinity,
you wanna ask, like, maybe let's have a real conversation. I don't know, like for real. Like, let's have a real. You already know the answers to this. Stop trying to act like these are genuine questions that you're wondering. You've been answered.
it's
Like, come
because
on.
you guys are talking about the formula of the Trinity. So my question is, after his death and his resurrection, was he fully God or was he still partially man?
What?
What do you
That's a
think
funny.
the incarnation? Wait, hold up, Derek.
Doing
What
this
do
on
you
purpose.
think the incarnation of Christ is?
This is what keeps you in timeout for about a month.
Oh my god.
The incarnation of Christ is the Immaculate Conception, or like the conception of Jesus without having a father, right?
He used to
No,
be Christian, by the way.
that's
So he
just called the
says.
virgin birth. That's just called the virgin birth.
Incarnation
But
is
the
something
virgin
different.
birth is a part of the incarnation. What do you think the incarnation is?
Okay, the incarnation is the God man, right? The God becoming a man.
The God man.
And you were a
Yes.
Christian for how long?
It's been quite a while now, but
Typical. So
no, see,
here, let me
it's hard to understand.
explain to you. Here. What do you think the hypostatic union is?
The bonding of two essences, or of two the bonding of the spiritual aspect of him and then the human aspect of him, right?
So Jesus and his flesh didn't have a spirit anymore. It's just like flesh and blood, and there's no spirit, there's no rational soul, no nothing, huh?
Well, I'm assuming that his intellect and his mind was that of God. Is that right?
No, that's called Apollinarianism.
Hmm.
You've never
Fair
heard of
enough.
that, have you?
Not until you just mentioned it. No.
Mm.
I haven't either, Derek. Don't feel bad. And I'm a shake.
Indeed, you are Shake Logic. So here,
I've only heard of Arianism and Unitarianism.
Are we going from point to point? Like we're just.
yeah,
Brother Miles,
let me put this in the confessional way that you might understand it, you might not understand it. Who knows?
Allah knows best, huh?
But here, let me just put it in a way way you might understand. This is I would just literally pull out the entire Chalcedonian definition for you, but I'll shorten it with Article 2 of the 39 Articles of Religion. The Son, which is the Word of the Father, begotten from everlasting of the Father, the very and eternal God, of one substance with the Father. So he's true God. He is as to his nature deity, took man's nature in the womb of the Blessed Virgin of her substance, so that the two and whole and perfect natures, that is to say, the Godhead and the manhood, were joined together in one person, never to be divided, whereof is one Christ, very God and very man, truly God, truly man, who truly suffered, was crucified, dead, and buried to reconcile his Father to us, and to be a sacrifice, not only for original guilt, but also for all actual sins of man. So the incarnation is that Christ, who is truly God, added another perfect nature to his person.
But how can it be perfect if it comes from a woman who's a sinner by default?
By perfect, it's not talking about simply being sinless, because sin is actually transferred covenantally from the Father. So Mary has absolutely nothing to do with this. But talking about perfect means being complete. There is nothing in him that separates him from being non-human, because he has a rational human body. He has a true human body with flesh, bones, blood, everything else. He has a rational soul and a rational will, a rational human will. And so, what the Son does in becoming human flesh is that he takes all of those things, that human nature, onto himself and unites it with his divinity, not mixing them and not becoming half God, half man, but uniting them in his one person.
That to me sounds like people are trying to bring God down to a human level, and it just doesn't float well with me, like at all.
Well, there was those are two completely different responses. The question wasn't, well, does this mean that man is trying to bring God down? We're not trying to bring God down. We're actually just simply understanding what God has already done. The scripture says
According
that
to the Bible, according to the New Testament,
Derek.
which we
Amen.
don't think is reliable, but okay.
Well,
It is.
then that's a personal problem. If you're going to ask a Christian what we believe, and you're going to ask us what the text says and where we derive our scriptures from, or where we derive our theology from, just as you are going to rely on the Quran to build your theology, when we ask you, what does Islam mean by
And
this,
the Old
this, and
Testament.
this? You don't rely on the Old Testament. You as a Muslim don't. I rely.
We understand the concept of the Old Testament God.
Derek. I wasn't done speaking. If you could, please keep yourself muted so you might understand what I'm saying. You can rely on the Quran and the Hadith and the Tafsir when we ask you what you believe and to explain what you believe, and I will rely on the Old Testament and the New Testament and the Christian sources, which have spanned over 2,000 years of theology, in order to explain what we're saying. And so we derive our theology from the sacred scriptures. We're not trying to bring God down. God himself came down, as he himself said. He said, I have come that they might have life and life more abundantly. He says, I am from above. You humans are from below. Jesus says, I have come down from heaven not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. And this is the will of him who sent me, that everyone who looks upon the Son and believes in him will have eternal life, and I will raise them up on the last day. This is the same passage where he says, I give my flesh for the whole world. So Jesus himself declares that he is both God and man. We even see this in Revelation chapter 1, verse 18, 17 and 18. Where John writes, and when I saw him, because he sees Jesus in his glory, described exactly how the Ancient of Days is in Daniel chapter 7, and he falls to his feet as though dead. And then Jesus lays his hand upon him and says, do not be afraid. I am the first and I am the last. The same title used by Allah in the Quran. He says, I am the living one. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and I have the keys of death and Hades. So he himself describes himself in relation to both God and man.
Okay, well, the Old Testament perception of God gives me the idea that God is holy. Holy as in whole, as in complete, as in one. I don't get that same vibe from what you're telling me.
Yeah, if you're
Well,
going to use the Old
the only-
Testament, if you're going to use the Old Testament, then you have to also agree that the God of the Old Testament comes down to creation and actually intermingles with the prophets. Like, for example, Genesis 18, where literally the Lord is right there with Abraham.
The Lord walked with Abraham at the oaks of Mamre.
Exactly. Or like I
He
mentioned before,
wrestles with Jacob.
Yep, Genesis 19. He is literally Yahweh is on earth. While
Right.
In angelic
Yahweh is
form,
in
right?
heaven.
In angelic
No,
form?
just simply stating Yahweh is here on earth. We're not talking about angelic forms right now. We're talking about simply Yahweh is on earth in the Old Testament. But you don't agree with that.
Mm-mm.
No, I would
So-
agree with that, but it was in an angelic form, right? The way he
Says
presents
what?
himself to Abraham is
The
in an
text,
angelic
does
form.
the text say, Derek, does the text say that? And the reason why you're silent is the answer is no. And you know it
But
doesn't.
what exactly does it say?
It says that Yahweh appeared to Abraham at the oaks of Mamre, that Jacob wrestled with God, which is why he's called Israel, he who wrestles with God. And Yahweh rained down fire and brimstone from Yahweh out of heaven.
Genesis 19:24.
My
So
understanding was that it was an angel
it doesn't add anything to it.
that he fought with.
Sorry?
My understanding is that Jacob fought with an angel.
I don't know where
Literally.
you got that understanding from.
It talks about either way, you have in the Old Testament that Yahweh comes down onto earth in creation, but you don't believe that. You don't hold to that. You said a second ago you don't have an issue with that, but you do based on what we talked about earlier, where God is above creation. For him to come down is to belittle him.
And yet we see Yahweh doing just that in the Old Testament.
I'll do a little more research on that, but from what I had understood was that it was in an angelic form, so it was an angel of the Lord, right?
No, those are two different persons.
Two different things.
There is Yahweh. There is also the angel of Yahweh, who himself is God, and he's called God. And there's
Rocky
also
Yahweh.
the spirit of Yahweh. We see this all over the Old Testament.
Right.
So,
My understanding was the angel of the Lord was the servant of God, right?
No, he's called the messenger of God, but he himself is called God. You know who speaks in Exodus 3 when he gives us the name Yahweh, I am that I am. You know who's speaking there, right?
And this is, by the way, just for the reference, in that exact text, it does say it's Yahweh, but there's something interesting, and this is where Black Doctor is getting at.
Mm-hmm. So you know who's speaking there, right?
From where? From the
Exodus
burning
3,
bush.
from the burning bush.
Right. Even then, it was like what was in the bush in itself was the angel of the Lord, right? The what was in the bush, the angel of the
Who
Lord.
was
Yes,
Yahweh?
he's who is called Yahweh. And he says, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He says, I am that I am. Go and tell them that I am has sent me to you.
So where was God at the time? So God was just in that one bush.
We
Derek,
believe that God is
okay.
at all places at all time, but the angel of the Lord who appeared to Moses in the flames of the fire, this is the angel of the Lord. The one who is the angel of the Lord in the burning bush here is Yahweh.
You guys
It's
really
called
like
Yahweh.
really entertaining this, huh?
Derek,
Yep.
this is my honest advice. If you aren't educated on a topic, I wouldn't discourse in it.
Right. This is just something to entertain me. Like literally, while you guys have been discussing like the logical problem of the Trinity or the non-logical problem of the Trinity, I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 2. Like I've
I
just
got some
been
good
trying to
questions.
chill.
Hey, I got some good questions.
I,
I got one.
I was just looking for
Oh,
Rocco.
is Jesus a manifestation? Is that what we're getting at here?
Rocco.
Before I go, Milos, I have a paper that shows why Peter Van Inwagen's theory of relative identity doesn't work, so I'll be emailing that to you soon.
But I understand what you're saying there. I've read the paper as well. But you conceded the idea that relative identity is true when we're talking about personal identity, right? So you've already conceded the idea that personal identity or relative identity holds or seems apparent, right? If you're going to now say that relative identity doesn't hold, that would be like a new position, right? And we'd have to go from there, right?
No, because it works in a diachronic case, but not synchronic, like I've said before.
Hey, Sal, are you a Sunni Muslim?
Yes, why?
Do you believe your prophet made false prophecies?
No, but
Can I
this
present
isn't.
one to you?
Of course, he doesn't
No.
believe that. That's
You
one of
said no.
Derek's. That's one of Derek's set up questions.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you want to talk about, okay, so you like to talk about very, very highly educated subjects. Don't get me wrong. Your guys' conversation is on a higher level than I would like to talk about religion in. But do you speak? No, I'm just being honest, bro. I mean these guys are smart when they're
Come
having
to
that type of
Islam,
conversation.
bro. God is one.
Those are some really deep. Those are some really deep philosophical conversations that they were having. I mean, I think we all can attest to that. Now, Sour, I'm asking you, would you like to see something more plain and simple, or do you like to just have very extensive philosophical conversations about your religion? I have a hadith I want to present to you, and I would like to see what you say about it.
So, to be honest, the reason why I have shifted into the logical or philosophical realm is because the whole scripture debates, it's all circular. And I've done it for years, and it all leads to the same thing where both sides don't agree as long as both sides are convicted of their arguments. So,
You do know that's the same thing that's happening in your logical and philosophical conversations too, right?
not really,
You do,
because
you do know that you do know that no matter how deep you dive philosophically or logically, you'll never
Figures.
understand God. You'll never, Derek, dude, chill out, bro. You'll never understand God until you meet him, right?
you're making a false equivocation of
No,
comprehension and
sour.
logicality.
Just answer this question. Do you know that you will never fully understand God philosophically or logically until you meet him? Correct? And even then, when you ask the type of questions you ask, the answers that you get will probably still blow your mind. So do you understand that? No matter how many philosophical or logical questions and conversations you have, it'll still be circular because our minds are so limited. So we're
Yeah,
both
but
doing the same thing.
no, because logic, deductive proofs is sound reasoning. It can't. It's not up to. It's a. It's an absolute truth.
Okay. So
So
you can okay, so with the conversations you're having and the deeper you dive, you will be able to 100% understand God.
We would have
philosophically and logically.
So logically speaking, sure, we can understand God. That's fine.
100%.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a bold statement.
I thought God was incomprehensible.
I don't think you're honest with that one.
No.
But anyway,
Because
I'll
Can you
present.
can you fully comprehend God and everything about Him in Its complexity?
we see right there
Absolutely
the word
not.
comprehension, because I'm not using that word. Logicality.
Well, that's what He means by 100%.
That's literally what I. Okay.
No, you
That's
said
what I
logic.
meant. So I know. Yeah, even logically, would you 100% logically be able to understand who God is? Absolutely not. I mean, if you like, someone full of pride would only say yes. You honestly think that with your human mind and your human understanding, you would absolutely 100% be able to understand God logically. The fact that you said yes shows what type of person you are. I think you need to lower yourself, because you saying yes just blew my mind. But it is what it is, brother.
Respectfully, I don't think you really understand what it means to 100% understand something logically.
He meant comprehend. He means comprehend.
Yeah. So if he meant
I feel like
comprehension,
that's. Well, no, but I feel like that's.
But I also
mean
understand as well too. I mean, we don't have to play word games. Comprehend, understand.
Yeah.
It's come on, they're one and the same, dude.
Yeah.
I'm literally honest. I can literally 100% say no one on this panel will be able to 100% understand who God is and how He operates.
Because in order to 100% understand who God is, you have to fully comprehend Him.
We can't exactly. That's what I'm saying. No one.
I
can
understand what Life is saying
that.
based on just what he's saying. So understand and comprehend are two of the same things in this context of what he's using. You're saying that you can 100% comprehend God logically.
You've created an idol.
That doesn't make sense. You can't use those two terms in the same
We
sentence.
just did. Literally, it makes sense in an English sentence that we just used. Can you comprehend God, Allah, 100% logically?
Again, that doesn't make sense, because you can't comprehend Him on a comprehension level. Sure, that's fine. That's because we don't have the knowledge and modality. That's fine.
Exactly.
But your Quran even says Allah is nothing like unto creation. So the fact that you said yes to my question literally shows that you need to do a little bit more studying and research. Maybe you need to put the philosophical and logical conversations behind you, because they may be clouding your judgment.
What is so hard to understand about the singularity?
Wait. I'm sorry, but this sounds so. I don't want to be disrespectful.
More to it than just singularity.
Incoming disrespect.
No, it's not, because people who always say that, oh, God's above logic, they don't really know what it means.
No, we're not saying that.
Logic.
No one is saying that. We're saying, can you 100% comprehend God? Yes or no?
Comprehend?
Since you want me to use comprehend, okay, there we go. Thank you. So these philosophical so listen. So these philosophical and logical conversations that you like to have, that's fine. You can have them. But I'm trying to have a lower leveled conversation with you about a hadith. You said, I don't like these conversations because they get circular. Well, I'm sorry, but in your world of philosophical and logical conversations, they also become circular. You know why? Because people argue theories as well. And sometimes you might not fall in line with someone else's theory or philosophical argument, and then you're going to counter, and then they're going to counter, and you guys are going to end up being circular as well. Just like Milos and you guys were having a conversation, but you guys were going back and forth about who knows what, but I'm pretty sure you guys weren't on the same side of the street every single time you guys spoke to each other. So let's just be honest, bro. If you don't want to read and listen to stuff that, you know, is actually in your scriptures, things that you follow, like the hadith and the Quran, and you just want to talk about things outside of your religion, then I mean, that's fine. But I just find it odd that I'm trying to present to you a hadith and you're saying, oh, I can care less about that. There are still lower level things that are about your religion that can destroy it, bro. Everything doesn't have to be philosophical.
Read it.
So may I respond before I go?
Sure.
So logic is objective.
As a matter of fact, bro, I'm gonna read it, bro. This is my stage, dude. You're not about to stop me from reading this, bro. So yeah, cool. So your prophet made a prophecy, and this is a false prophecy. So as a Sunni Muslim, Do you respect Sahih Muslim?
I'll just straight away answer it. So the question as asked by someone, see Anas ibn Malik reported that a person asked, when would the last hour come? Now the thing with this hadith is that it says that if this boy lives, he would not grow very old until the last hour will come. This is in reference to their death. Okay? And there's simple reasoning behind that, because he is basically saying, why are you worrying about the day of judgment? Because death can come at any moment. That is your last hour, because once you're dead, you're done. You can't come back. So that's it.
Yeah, okay. So one thing that you're avoiding is that it says this: if this boy lives, he will not grow very old till the last hour would come.
Yeah.
Notice
Last hour in reference
they
to their
asked
death.
him when would the last hour come. So what is the last hour?
So the person is asking in reference to the day of judgment, but the prophet is simply saying that don't worry about it. You can die at any moment. Don't worry about the day of judgment, because death can come at any moment. That is much sooner than a sooner affliction.
Just curious.
Okay, where are you getting that? Because it
Yeah,
literally
that's what I was
says, then Muhammad looked at the young boy in his presence, belonging to the tribe of Az Shanu, and he said, if this boy lives, he would not grow very old till the last hour would come to you. Anas said that this young boy was of our age during those days.
Sure, that's fine. So here's the thing, like I've said.
So how are you flipping that to whatever you're saying now? It's just literally.
Oh, it's very simple, because every time someone else asked the prophet when is the hour, he would always say the questioner does not have the person who's answering does not have as much knowledge as the questioner. Okay, he's done. This isn't the first time that's been asked. So in this specific instance, he's just saying you're not gonna, you're gonna die. That's your last hour. That's your death. So don't worry about
Where
it.
does it say that in this text, though?
Where does it say that at all?
Now, if you want the sharh of this specific hadith, I'll go find it for you. I don't have it on hand.
So there's a tafsir for the hadith.
Well, yeah, you didn't know that.
No, I know there are people that try to explain hadiths, but tafsir is just an explanation, right? These are literally the words of your prophet. This is what you follow, right? Sahih, it's authentic, right? So you're gonna give me a tafsir in which we know you guys throw away tafsirs whenever you feel like they don't align with your understanding. So what I'm saying is let's read for what the verse says, because you're literally tafsiring the mess out of this verse, and we don't see any of that in here. We don't see any of that.
Even if you have a tafsir that says what you're saying, where is that tafsir getting that from this text?
This can get into really deeper analysis of other sahabis who have explained it in other books somewhere. I don't have all those books on hand, but if you want, I can give it to you. But I've given you the explanation, would you agree it at least makes sense?
No, I don't think it makes sense, because I don't see where.
So then I guess
your explanation makes no sense. Nowhere in here am I getting Muhammad is telling this person, why are you worried about the last hour? He's literally telling him when the last hour would be.
That's the problem.
And he's using the little boy as a reference.
Yeah, you don't know the context.
Do you care if I ask a question about this? Because, like, for example, the text says, if this boy lives, he will not grow very old till the last hour would come to you. So,
come to you, yes.
Yeah, so who is he speaking to?
He's speaking to whoever asked the question.
Okay, so did he live?
Did he?
That's what we're asking you.
Yeah, did he live?
Well, I'm not sure I'm supposed to.
I think
that makes
there's
perfect sense, though.
There's a simple answer to this. In Islam, the day of judgment the last hour in the day of judgment starts as soon as you die. So
we have two last hours.
Yeah, when you die, the last hour starts for you. Like when you're in the grave,
So then why would he ask when would the last hour come? I'm just curious.
Because he's basically saying to people, like, everyone's so worried about when the end of the world is, but in your world, your last hour will start when you die.
Then why didn't he just say?
Why didn't he
when
just
you
say
die?
that?
When you
Yeah,
die.
because yeah,
Wait,
this
wait.
one,
When you ask,
this one,
it's
because this one
Because
here,
he had
Life
said
literally
before that
says,
he didn't
if,
know.
so here's the premises that we get from this text. If this boy lives, okay. So does the boy live? Yes or no?
Bro, you're trying to dissect. We're giving you the answer and you don't want it. Like,
No,
move on to the
I'm
next
simply
thing. It's obvious.
I'm literally just trying to comprehend the text itself to
Okay,
see
okay.
if
Yeah.
they.
Let me help
Exactly,
you. Let me help you
because
understand.
before you go, let me kind of push back on whoever that was that just said that. Muhammad is not saying the last hour will start when this boy dies. He doesn't say that. He says if this boy lives, he will not grow very old till the last hour. So that means that the last hour would start sometimes during his life. Whether
Yeah,
he
that's what,
dies or not, the last hour would start sometime during his life, which means he would not grow very old till the last hour. So all of that, we have 2 last hour stuff. Muhammad ain't saying that in here, bro.
Are you
yeah,
sure?
that's what
Okay,
I'm trying
The other
to.
thing,
do
That's
you
what
want
I'm
if I can
trying to
chime in real
understand from
quick,
this.
the
Wow.
other thing
Why
that
would he?
supports what Life's interpretation of this hadith is the other hadith in this chapter of the Sahih Muslim, right? In the reason why Sahih Muslim is called Sahih Muslim is because it is not a musnad; it's arranged by topic, right? So the other hadith that are immediately before this, they also talk about the closeness of the end of time, right? If you look above it, it says, "I am the last hour." I'm sorry, I and the last hour have been sent like this, which is where he has his fingers very close, right? The one immediately before this, it says, I and the last land are close to each other like this. And he, in order to explain it, pointed by joining his forefinger next to his thumb and the middle finger together. So Muhammad is clearly expressing here in the hadith that Life brought up and the other ones in this chapter that Muhammad believed that the last hour would happen nearly immediately after the time that he was sent, which would be shortly after his death.
Which a lot of
That's not
a lot
right.
of
Well, Imam Muslims seem to think so, right? That's why he contained both of these hadith together.
I'm still trying to figure out. Did first off, did this boy live? Yes or no? Did he live? Did the boy live? Come on, guys.
Who does know that?
Why am I getting crickets? Did the boy live?
Because you're not understanding. You're asking like questions.
I'm just asking a question. Did the boy live?
What do you think? Yeah, he's
I'm
next to me.
asking
He's
you.
next to me right
Did the
now.
boy
Yeah,
live?
he's next to me right now.
Are you just being trollish? I'm being honest. Like,
No, because
did
you're
the boy
asking.
live?
I'm answering you how you're asking. You're asking a silly question. I'm giving you a silly answer.
I'm literally just asking for a legitimate
Like,
answer.
for real.
Like, let's just take this step by
It's a
step.
good question, Hunter.
Did the boy live?
Yeah,
Yes or
for
no?
real. Yeah,
Does-
he's next to me right here.
Okay,
You
so
wanna
the
talk
boy
to him?
lived. The boy
Yeah.
lived. Got it. Ask the little
Mhm.
boy next to you that's by yourself in your
Mhm.
room. Ask the little boy that you have with you by yourself.
What?
If he lived to be an old. If he lived to be old.
All right, that was a good one.
That's not what the hadith saying. And in regards to I have been
Can you go
sent
back
and
to Life real quick? Life, can you
Wait.
go back to it real quick? Please. So, okay. The boy lives. Okay, so he lives with you by yourself in the room that you're in by yourself. Got it. Does he grow to be very old?
I explained to you what it means. You have a last
Very
hour when you
simple
die.
question.
When you die, you have a last hour.
That's not what I
When you-
asked. That's not what I asked.
But
Y'all
but
just
but
be-
but
If
you
this
already
boy
got the
lives-
answer. Yeah, I just told
If
you he's next to me.
this, I'm asking. Okay, so the little boy that you have by yourself
I
again.
see why you don't be having these conversations.
Does he grow very old? According
I
to
don't
this text.
I don't know.
Yes. I'll say yes.
You don't, why don't you ask him since you're by yourself with
I
him right
think,
now?
wait, but I think so Sour said yes. Sour said yes to your question, Hunter.
Okay, wait, Sour, did you say yes?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so this boy lives, and you say yes, he will grow to be very old, correct?
Yes, until the companions die. Yeah.
Okay,
He does say would come to you.
I'm sorry.
Keep
He says the
going.
last
Hunter.
hour would come to you, referring to whoever he was speaking to, right?
Okay, so when the last hour comes, you talked about like, is the last hour Judgment Day?
So in this, it's referring to their death.
Okay, where does it
Prove
say in
it.
this text? Yeah, where in this text does it say it's referring to their death? In this text.
I don't have to say in this text. That's what our
You
belief
do
system. We
have to
have
say
two.
this text, otherwise
We
you're
have.
adding to the word of
I'm not.
Allah.
Not okay. First of all, this is the word of the prophet. So
Oh,
okay.
sorry, the word of the prophet. So you're
Oh,
having to add to the word of the prophet. Where does it
Hey,
say
hey, hey,
in
hey, hey.
this
No.
text that it is talking about when they die?
That's what their last hour refers to. We have two last
Prove
hours.
it.
I mean,
Okay, so you have 2 hours that are the last hour.
yes, one that
So
is in
how,
death and one that is the day of judgment.
how do you know that this one is about death and not the day of judgment?
Because this use context. I mean, it's
I
There's
am.
a
That's what I'm
twinge of
saying. Nowhere
sarcasm
in
in this
Bro,
hadith.
it's
in the
obvious.
context. Nowhere. No, actually, it's not. Nowhere
Wait.
in
Hey,
the
Hunter,
context.
Hunter, ask him this: whose last hour is this hadith about? Sour.
what do you mean?
Whose last hour is this hadith about?
It doesn't say, so I don't know.
Exactly. It says the last hour, and we know when we're talking about the last hour, we're talking about the end times.
Dude, do you not?
Well,
Are you
actually,
not reading?
hold on.
You're not
The
reading it right.
the
It's
other
obvious.
I
hadith
still
that
don't
talk
see
about
what.
this actually talks about not the last hour of the boy, right? If you look at 2953a, the one immediately before this, it says till the last hour coming to you. So it's if this boy lives, he may not grow very old. So it's talking about him, the boy. Then it says the last hour coming to you. So this is talking about the last hour of the people, not the boy. This isn't
Well,
talking about that boy's last hour. This is talking about their last hour. Additionally, if we go to the hadith following this one, 2954, it says the last hour would come so suddenly that a person would be milking the she camel and the milk would not reach the brim of the vessel, that the last hour would come, and that two persons would be engaged in buying and selling and clothes and so on and so forth. This is clearly appropriating biblical language here. So this is not talking about some sort of last hour pertinent to every person where they are judged individually. This is talking about the end of time very clearly. And the reason why Imam Muslim groups these two together is because he agrees with us here. He agrees that this is talking about the end of time that would come nearly immediately after the dispatching of Muhammad here, between the two distance between his thumb and forefinger.
Wait, do you know how hadith work? Hadith don't work like that. They don't group hadith based on it all being one.
Yes, they do. In collections,
Each hadith
no.
is
In
based on its
collections,
individual story. It's not
no.
based on the
In
last story or the one
collections,
before it.
in the collections made by Bukhari and Imam Muslim, both of these are a type of hadith collections in which they are grouped by category. The Musnad collections, like Musnad Imam Malik, I believe, and the other ones, Musnad Ahmed, they are not grouped by category. Instead, they are grouped by the transmitter. That's the difference between a Musnad and this category, which I can't remember its Arabic name here. So yes,
How do you
this
counter
specific
this
one that we're
against
looking
the
at,
fact that he didn't know the hour? How do you counter this against the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said he did not know the hour, that no
Wait,
one knew
hold on,
the hour,
hold on, hold on.
not even
Wait,
agreeing
hold
Jesus,
that
on.
your
right?
ignorance of the New Testament doesn't really that's not really relevant, right? So we're talking about this
Why
one
do
in
y'all always
particular. I
run
don't know
to
why
the
you're
New
trying to drag
Testament?
it to another topic. That makes
Yes.
no
Wait,
sense.
Why
can
are
you
you
go? Wait,
running?
Can you go to the next? Yeah. So go to the
Which
hold on
one?
for a second.
2953 what?
This guy's smart.
2953 C.
See? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Notice 2953 also supports the idea that the last hour is the people of this generation, not the last hour of the boy. It literally says he would not grow very old, meaning the boy, till the last hour would come to the old people of this generation. It's another explicit identification of the last hour being that. So this is
Yeah.
I
That's
Wow.
all
well,
it
friends,
is.
That
It's
just agrees with what we said.
with what we said, correct?
So
No,
no.
that's
That the
not
last
we.
hour in question is
Malice.
talking about the last hour of those old people that existed there, not of the boy.
Yeah, the last hour of those people are not going to be that long because when they die, their hour has begun.
So the question was the last hour. Is it the last hour of the boy or of the people? If it's the last hour of the people, that seems to indicate that this is talking about the last hour, the last moment in time where all people are judged, whatever the case is.
No,
If it
it's
is, as you're
not.
saying, that this is talking about the last hour that happens after everyone's death, where they are judged individually, then maybe you could say that this last hour is talking about the boy's last hour, which is an indication that the last hour of a boy happens nearly immediately after the boy dies. But instead, since both the A and the C variant of this hadith both indicate that the last hour explicitly is the last hour, not of the boy, but instead the people, it's very clear that this is talking about
The person who asked the question.
Muslim, but it's talking about the group, the end of time when Allah will judge the world, not individuals.
Wait. If
I can
there's a
help.
group of seniors and there's a baby, that baby will outlive it, and those seniors will see their last day.
It's
I
kind
mean,
of funny. Like you're trying to put it together, but it's not working for you. Why do you
It's
think
also-
why do you think the prophet paused before he answered the question? He's
Also the
basically
f-
telling them, like, why are you so worried about the last hour? Worry about your last hour.
Yeah, so the original one that you sent, it can also be rhetorical, just like how you say when I'm going to give the New Testament example so you don't have to be a hypocrite. So it said when the man came to Jesus and said, teach me, O good teacher. And he says, why do you, good teacher? And he said, why do you call me good? Nobody's good as but God, right?
Yep.
You will obviously try to bring in information that isn't within the verse or the passage to explain it.
No, we
and
can use that verse. Actually, hold on. Yeah,
actually
we can
do.
actually use that verse to explain it perfectly what it's saying.
And I'm
The
doing the same
issue
thing.
with that verse is that people try to imply something that isn't even said in the text.
It's
And
clear.
so, yeah.
Well, why do you
exactly.
call me good? I'm not good. That's as clear as it
No,
gets.
no. He never
no,
says
hold on.
I'm
That's
not
the
good.
point. Hold on. That's
the
the point.
point.
He never says he is not good. He just makes the positive claim only God is good. That's what
Right.
we're
And
saying.
again,
Hunter,
we're
before we move on here real
falling
quick, I
into
just
the
wanna
Yeah,
point out-
sorry, yeah. I'm just making
Real
a
quick, I
point
just wanna
that no,
point
we
out-
could just simply use
He
the
missed
text
his chance
itself to
describe the
explain our
Trinity.
point. When it comes to this, however, a lot is being added to it. That's the point.
No. By the way,
real
Hunter,
quick before we
when
go into that here, the person that made this point here, I think they were talking about the logical consistency and all that kind of stuff here. But what has just been made here is a tu quoque fallacy, right?
Yep.
Well, maybe you've got us on this here where we have to appeal to this, but you would have to do the same. He's alleging that we would have to do the same. Well, even if that's the case, even if we would have to do the same, which we clearly don't, as Hunter very clearly established, this is still the logical fallacy of tu quoque, right? So there's no reason to get off the topic here to respond to the allegation that, well, because we're wrong, you're wrong also.
But it's
Doesn't-
you're right. You're right. Whoever said that, you're right. But that the other fallacy is that the answer was already given, and you're trying to argue that it's not the right answer. So if a Muslim,
it's not a fallacy,
if
bro.
a Muslim, well, I just try to sound smart because everybody's trying to sound smart right now. So
Don't try to sound smart.
it's a
Fallacious.
phillistical fallacy. Okay, I'm
A
not that smart.
phillistical fallacy. Okay,
It-
can you spell
okay,
it
I'm
for
not-
me? Come on, dude.
But look, I'm telling you, we gave you the answer about the last hour. It's obvious he's telling the guy your last hour will
obvious.
come. Well, if it's not obvious
It's
to you,
obvious.
then
No,
don't be
is that
Muslim.
I think y'all wanted to try to make it seem like it's obvious when in fact it actually I see what Milos is actually saying here.
By the
And
way,
that is the part that seems obvious.
when we read hadiths, right, we don't just read it how it is. We have to take actual classes. I don't say this to
Or
many
you read it in
people.
Arabic too first. If you read it in Arabic, the Arabic has a
So
lot more
unless we
beefiness
know
to it.
Arabic, we can't know anything about
Not-
Islam.
No, you
Not
can't.
even
You
just
can't
that.
get into an academic conversation about it because
Don't make us
guys aren't
American
in
speakers here.
academics.
We will do it, friend. We will
Bring
do
it.
And
Yalla,
you guys
yalla.
aren't
Let's go.
anyways.
You gotta
Right,
be alim.
guys, would they, question, would they be able to uphold their own standard when they talk about the Bible? Would they
No.
be able to read the New Testament in Greek and debate it with us in
Well,
Greek,
I
dealing
want
with
to
the
talk.
original language?
I want to read the New Testament in the language that Jesus spoke, Aramaic. If you have those copies,
Aramaic
please bring them
and
to the
Thank
table.
you.
And thank you, Derek,
Aramaic
again
and
for
Greek.
demonstrating your ignorance. The New
It's AZ.
Testament was not written.
AZ's talking.
AZ is even worse. It's even
Hey.
worse because
Is-
AZ, you should know that the
Mhm.
New Testament was written in Greek and that Jesus was trilingual. He spoke Aramaic, which is
Jesus
the
was
language of
what?
the people. He was
Trilingual.
trilingual. Trilingual
He knew
means
Aramaic,
that he spoke
Where did you
three
get that from?
languages.
Where did you get that
I
from?
was trying to explain it to you before you interrupted me and
my
asked me what
apologies.
the
now
very
who's putting
definition
My
of
things into the
trilingual
text?
was.
Hey, my apologies. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Trilingual means that Jesus spoke 3
I know that.
languages.
I know
Number
that.
1, he spoke Aramaic because that was the language of the people of Palestine, which he was living in. Number 2, he spoke Greek because he was living in the Hellenistic age. The language of commerce was Greek. Jesus, before he began his ministry for 3 years, was a tecton,
I
a
literally said this
stonemason.
earlier.
Exactly. So he would have known Greek, and especially if he's going to talk with Roman centurions and Pontius Pilate, because they weren't required to learn the language of the people. The people were obligated to learn the language of their oppressors, the Romans and Pontius Pilate. So he would have to know how to converse with them. And third of all, he would have known Hebrew because he was a rabbi. Jesus literally takes up the Isaiah scroll and reads from Isaiah.
Man.
He also quotes from the Greek Septuagint.
He didn't even want to talk
Which
to
is
the
the Greek.
Samaritan woman.
No
could
scholar
finish.
claims he spoke Greek, by the way.
Oh, yes,
Yes,
they
they
do.
He
do.
didn't even want to talk to the
Yes, they
Samaritan woman.
Hold
do.
on, hang on, real quick, right now, real quick. I can name you, like, literally, for example, Michael Heiser, actually himself, who is a biblical scholar, he himself talks about that Jesus, the consensus, the majority view is that he spoke definitely Aramaic and Greek, and that the only one that's actually up for debate is actually Hebrew, not Greek or Aramaic, because a lot of people don't think that he was educated and that you must be educated in order to read Hebrew. So the only one that is actually up for
Wait,
debate
who wasn't educated?
Jesus.
Your God wasn't educated? Don't do
Oh my
that.
goodness, you're not getting it.
Hey,
Don't do that. Don't do
You're not
that
getting
right
it.
now.
Wait.
Ding ding
Wait,
ding.
Az, Az. You said you wanted to read what in his original language? What'd you say?
Huh?
You said you wanted to read what in the language he spoke? Az?
What are you talking about?
So who said they wanted to read the Bible in the language Jesus spoke? Who said that?
Oh, that was me. Aramaic. Yeah, bring it to me.
All right. Do you want to read what Moses said in Hebrew?
No, we're not talking about Moses.
Oh,
If at all possible, yes.
okay. But hold on, wait. You read what Moses said.
If we were
in
talking
Hebrew.
to a Jewish person,
Hold on,
we could
Az.
talk.
You read what Moses said in Hebrew and Arabic. So you don't got a problem with that?
No, we don't read anything that Moses said. We in the Quran. It's not a history lesson.
Wait, you don't read anything that Moses said. So you don't have any statements from Moses in your Quran.
Yeah, but we don't need
Allah narrates it.
Moses has nothing to do. Moses is a like for us. It's just there. God is bringing up Moses to tell us about prior nations. He's not bringing up Moses to listen to his teachings.
Does Moses speak in the Quran? I don't care if Allah narrated it or not. Are these the words of Moses? Did Moses say these things?
God said that Moses said.
Are there Moses? Yeah, God said, Moses said. So that means Moses, right? What he said is being reiterated in what? Arabic, right?
Okay, and
did he say it in Arabic?
No.
Does that matter to God?
Are you okay with that though? Wait, hold on. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with
that? Has nothing to do with that has nothing to do with
Az,
the whole Bible.
Listen, just answer. Hold on. Listen. Just answer the question. Are you okay with Moses's statements being read in Arabic when he never spoke that? He spoke it in Hebrew.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I'm perfectly fine with that.
So you shouldn't have a problem. You shouldn't have a problem with the Bible. Thank you.
Well, hey, actually, before we move on, the idea that Jesus didn't
But
speak
Moses
Greek
is not
kind of
speaking
a
at all.
thing here.
Allah is narrating what Moses said.
Hold on, let me speak.
Moses does speak in the Quran. It's in 7:143. The Quran says, "He said," referring to Moses, "My Lord, show me thyself so that I may look upon thee." This is Surah 7, ayah 143. Absolutely, Moses is claimed to be a speaker in the Quran. Just wait for a moment, Derek. What I'm going to read now is from the Antiquities of the Jews by Josephus. This is a passage that that is relevant to the identifying the languages that Jesus probably spoke here, right? So he says, and I am so bold as to say now I've completely perfected the work that I proposed myself to do, that no other person, whether he was a Jew or a foreigner, has ever had so great an inclination to it, could so accurately deliver these accounts of the Greeks as I've done in this books. For those of my own nation freely acknowledge that I far exceed them in the learning belonging to the Jews. I have also taken a great deal of pains to obtain the learning of the Greeks and understand the elements of the Greek language. Although I have so
we know
long
that much.
accustomed myself to speak our own tongue that I cannot pronounce Greek with sufficient exactness. Now listen right here. For our nation does not encourage those that learn the languages of many nations, and so adorn their discourses with the smoothest of their periods, because they look upon this sort of accomplishment as common, not only to all sorts of freemen, but also to as many of the servants as pleased to learn them. So the point that Josephus is making is that the knowledge of speaking Greek and reading it and so on and so forth is so common a thing in Israel at his time that it is looked as a mark of the lower class, the common man. Every single person knows Greek, so by speaking
By the
that,
way,
you dirty yourself by being the commoners,
God's
right?
by the way,
revelations
and
came
I
in Greek.
mentioned that
But,
I mentioned that before.
obviously, but
Hold on,
obviously,
and I
Milos,
mentioned that.
no scholar says that Jesus or any Jew in the first century spoke Greek. Of course not.
Right. This
Well,
is
hold on.
merely the claim of Muslim propagandists. I'm sorry, Hunter. Go ahead.
No, I was
Exactly.
gonna say this is what I was telling
Jesus
to
himself
Derek
claimed that he
earlier,
came to
because
the lost
whenever
sheep
I
of
was speaking to
Israel.
Derek about the languages that Jesus spoke, I even mentioned about how Greek was the common language and Latin was the superior language to those who
Who
were
taught
up in.
Jesus Greek? Who taught Jesus Greek? Give me the
Is
name.
It must have been one of
Literally,
those
it's the
are you
centurions, right?
kidding me?
No,
Are you?
it's a valid.
Who's
It's a valid question.
Who's seriously asking that question?
It's a valid question.
easy.
Show
Hold
me
on,
the
hold
Bible.
on,
You're
hold on,
talking
man.
outside of the
Wait,
Bible.
Who
Show me the Bible
who
where
did Jesus become a rabbi under?
Wait, I'm just curious. Who taught Muhammad Arabic?
that's his native tongue.
Right?
Right. No.
Right.
Exactly.
And
What
so
is the
and
name?
so how would
According.
so and
So
so how
who's
would a
Jesus' native
tecton
tongue?
and so how would a tecton
According.
know the language of commerce, AZ? How would a businessman know the language of commerce?
Who's a
So
And to
businessman?
Jesus
go off
was
of
just
what?
some guy
And
out
to go
here
off of
doing all
what?
types of work
No,
for Romans.
Derek,
You guys.
don't save your fellow right shoulder. I want AZ to answer the
Save.
question. AZ, how would a businessman know the language of commerce?
Who's the businessman you're talking about?
Jesus.
God
He's a
taught
Jesus?
stonemason
man.
for 30
He was
years
a carpenter.
until he's the age of 30. So
He was a
Jesus was
carpenter.
a
So a
tecton,
carpenter is
a
a businessman.
carpenter, a tecton, a carpenter. So if a person who is in business knows the language of commerce in order to make a living, how would he learn that?
None of the Mexicans that built the society around you speak English. How do you
What?
feel about that?
Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh, dude!
What?
Somebody
What?
kick Derek at
How?
this point.
Dude, this has
Bro,
to be a
that has
troll. I don't
nothing
know if
to do
Derek
with
Is
the
this man
argument.
even
Wait.
this has to
Okay.
be a
serious?
troll.
If I can, please, if I may,
The Pope
going back
said the
to
Pope said
if
that
I
Jesus only spoke
can,
I
please.
Arabic.
don't. I don't
Do I
care
literally have to
what the
breathe into
Pope
my mic at this
said. I
point?
asked a question,
Can I?
AZ.
Oh, you know more than the Pope?
Yes,
Oh my
actually, it's funny because you think that apparently the Pope has all
Not the
knowledge,
Holy Father.
and yet not even the Pope would say that. I mean, good Lord, I'm not Catholic.
That,
You're
so,
still
real
not
quick,
answering the question.
can you guys hear
AZ,
me?
I asked you a simple question.
Hey, Black
If
Doctor,
somebody
I think
knows the
Hunter's trying to
language
make
of
like a
commerce,
point.
how would they know it?
We can hear you, Hunter.
I was just because I was really gonna just say like AZ, like how did Muhammad learn? How did he learn Arabic? And what did you say?
That's his native tongue.
Okay, good.
Greek is not Jesus' native tongue.
Actually, according to Josephus, it was actually used as an. Joseph, did you not hear
You
what
don't
Milos
know
just
who
quoted?
Josephus is?
Josephus is not
We're
the
about to
Bible.
receive his story about the
May I,
demographics of
may I?
Israel from
Hang
a
on.
person that doesn't know who
Can I just
Josephus is.
finish what I'm
Josephus,
saying?
Oh, yes.
the Roman emperor's pet historian.
Derek,
Yo,
can
guys,
I
let
just
Hunter finish speaking.
Good Lord, have mercy. Yes, it was Muhammad's Arabic, or I'm sorry, Arabic was Muhammad's native tongue. Exactly right. The native tongue was based upon the cultural language that was used in the time of Muhammad. Just so happens to be the cultural language in the time of Jesus was Aramaic, Greek, and Hebrew.
So he learned all three from birth.
Yes, he literally
Yes.
can by communicating with the people of his time.
So Mary, his mother taught him that.
That was common. Like he just proved from Josephus, who is a Jewish historian himself.
But you know that you need him to know Greek, or else people can come at the Bible and say it's not correct. That's why you have to assert
No,
that
it's just simply a
That's a
historical
fallacious.
fact.
That's exactly why.
It's
Hang
not
on.
a fact. You could literally
No, it literally
That's a
is a
fallacious
historical
argument.
fact. Jews in first century Palestine had to be multilingual because they were under the Hellenistic boot of
Literally
Rome.
said all of this
I
earlier.
literally just everyone just said that, and we refer
Milos
to
just
historical
proved it by
scholars.
using Josephus.
A first century Jew who records
Literally,
what happens in his lifetime. And yet you
So there's no
continually throw him under the bus with one of the most asinine excuses I've ever seen.
Oh, remember,
Any scholar
It was written
would
in Latin.
laugh
I
at you.
expect it more.
but remember, Black Doctor, the Quran is a religious book. It's a historical book, so history doesn't matter.
Exactly.
This is ridiculous.
Nonsense. Unashamed apologetics. You were going to say something.
It's pretty clear that whoever wrote the Gospels, the Greek New Testament, was very proficient with Greek and that they had mastery of the language. It's a literary piece of art. There's no way that some commoners wrote this masterpiece of literature. It's just not realistic.
Eric,
How do they lie?
hold
Had
on,
to
Black
be from
Doctor,
God.
Black
That's
Doctor,
why we
hang
have
on a
the
second.
Apostle
Hang
Paul,
on,
who
hang
was a
on, hang
Pharisee
on.
of Pharisees.
Derek, this is exactly why you said earlier. You even said earlier that they had translators. They had scribes.
Mhm.
So if they have translators and scribes, and then all of a sudden you have the people who are leading the movement of the way of Jesus Christ, do you not think that the community of Christians can come together and hire scribes and translators for them to write this stuff down?
And even then,
Apparently they did, right?
the
Exactly.
argument is completely astounding
Who
because
was
the
Mark?
man has never read the Greek text in his life.
Mark,
He's just
remember,
parroting what other people have said.
Mark was the scribe for Peter. That's why it's called the Gospel according to Mark. So yeah, they use scribes. That's evidence. All the evidence points to who these people were.
So
There's
Mark
nothing
didn't
else.
write Mark? Is that what you're saying?
No,
That's
Mark
it's
was
the exact
oh my
opposite
goodness.
of what he
Finally.
said. He said
Mark, hang
is
on,
the
Black Doctor,
scribe of
Black Doctor,
Peter,
hang on.
which is why
hold on,
it's
Black
called the
Doctor,
Gospel of Mark.
Black Doctor, hang on a second.
Oh my goodness.
Mark, the Gospel according to Mark was written by Mark, who was a scribe for Peter. So if anybody was going to add a random name to it and make it anonymous, they would have been better off adding the Gospel
Hold on.
of Peter.
So
No,
Mark is not an apostle of Jesus. You're
hang
saying he was
on.
the scribe of Peter.
Oh my goodness.
That's what you
Yes,
just
that's
said.
what I've been saying.
So Mark
Yes,
is
that's what
not
I've
an
been saying.
apostle of Jesus. That's what you're saying.
Right. Do you? Yes, I
Oh, wow.
agree with that. Yes.
Did
Do
you
you
not
agree?
know
No,
that?
Do you guys
There's
agree?
no
That has
issue.
nothing to do with
That's not what that's not what all the Christians say. All the Christians say Mark, Matthew,
Actually,
Luke, and John were apostles of Jesus, and Paul. They add
You
Paul in
did you
there
say
too.
you were a
you've
Christian
never.
before?
It clearly
Who
says that they got this from
Hold on,
eyewitnesses.
everybody,
Who
hang on.
apparently have you been
Please let me have
talking
this.
to?
Yeah, please let me have this conversation. AZ, you said that you're a Christian before, right?
No, I definitely. I told you I grew up and I went to a Christian school. I wasn't
Right.
like a
Oh, well,
devout.
you need to get your money back because
Please.
every
Are you sure?
scholar, absolutely, every scholar,
Yes, you do.
every scholar.
Logic, hey,
No,
Logic. Ask
no,
Logic if
AZ,
Mark. Hey,
AZ,
was Mark
stop,
the scribe
AZ,
for Peter?
AZ. Hang on a second. Stop trying to run away from
So,
this. Why are you running right now? What? Look, this is look. Hold on.
because I
This
want
is
you to
literally.
embarrass yourself. I want you to embarrass yourself.
Look.
Why are you running?
Look. This is what you're doing.
Why are you running?
That's what I got to keep asking.
Why are you running?
Every time you go to something else, I'm just gonna go.
Why are you running?
Because that's what you're doing right now. You're just running. All I'm simply trying to point out is when it comes to Mark, all throughout history, ever since the very beginning, we can go to the patristics at this point and say that Mark has always been dedicated as a scribe for Peter. That's what it's been saying for the past 2,000 years. So anybody who says that you talk to all the Christians, every Christian says that Mark was a scribe or Mark was an apostle, you are literally talking out of your rear at that point because not all
Facts.
Christians say
Are you
this.
sure?
I am
Yes.
100% sure, and I will
Don't
take
bring
that
up
to the
no
bank.
Sufi Muslims. Who's bringing up Sufi Muslims on
Hold
here?
on. Okay,
As
again,
we
Why are you
know,
running?
hang on, hold on.
Why are you
the
running?
story
You're
of
running
Jesus
again.
was propagated word of mouth,
No,
right?
Derek,
The
hang
story
on,
of Jesus
Derek.
was propagated word of
Derek.
mouth. The people
Derek.
wrote it down
Hold on,
after.
we're doing this again.
Why are you running?
Derek,
Why are you running?
you're letting your friend run away right now. We're not talking about that right now. Simply put, when it comes to Mark being a scribe, do you actually know how it was determined for the Gospels to actually be the Gospels, for them to actually be canon? It had to be either written by an apostle or an acquaintance with an apostle. It
An
had to be
apostolic man.
Exactly. It had to be consistent with previous revelation, like the Old Testament, for example, and it had to be within the realm of what the church already knew to be from the oral tradition as well. So there's actually, and I can get you the list too.
Are you getting this from the
Because
Clement of Rome?
no, I'm not getting this from
What
Clement of
book?
Rome.
What books got thrown out the Bible? Gospel of Mary and Judas, were they thrown
Those
out?
were never canon.
None of them. None
Yeah,
of
those
them.
were they can't be thrown out if they were never put in. First off,
Exactly.
yeah. So you need to learn your history
The
because
letters of Barnabas.
because you thought that all Christians literally believed that Mark was an apostle. Not all Christians believe that. I
But
am
do
telling
some? Do some?
No, I don't know of one scholar that holds to that. Name me one.
Yeah, I've never heard a scholar do it. The only thing
Maybe
I've heard
once-
is
Anyways,
ignorant Christians who don't know what they're talking about. And if that's what he's parroting when he's supposedly supposed to be quoting scholars, then he's more deceived than I thought.
Here's actually the criteria for canonization. Apostolicity, which is what I was talking about, where a book written by an
Whose
apostle
criteria?
or this has
The
been the criteria
church's criteria,
from the
what
very
they
beginning. This is
always used.
My goodness, stop running away. Just let me finish this one thing. This has always been the criteria. It is what I've already talked about with the apostles. It was a book written by an apostle or an associate of the apostle, which Mark was an associate with Peter. Luke was an associate with Paul, who they both went to Jerusalem to meet James, the brother of Jesus, Peter the apostle, and John the apostle. So there's your guilt by association. And then you have orthodoxy, which did it conform to the teachings by other books known to be by the apostles and before the apostles. So the Old Testament and other things they already knew that was written by the apostles. And then Catholic or Catholicity, not talking about Roman Catholicity, if I can say the word right. Was it accepted early and by a majority of churches? So this is from the beginning. So I don't know where you're getting the idea that Mark was an apostle, but dude, clearly just from that statement alone, you have not done your research when it comes to Christianity, and you need to go get your money back. Your parents need to go get their money back because they failed in educating you in Christian studies. And you need to honestly pick up what the actual history is, because all history points to this. And by the way, we went on a tangent about this before. We were actually talking about the false or the mess up prophecy that was talking about we fell into the rabbit hole, people. But
No, that got debunked, so we just moved on to something more.
Actually, it didn't get debunked. You guys ran away again, like you keep doing every time we bring up something about the Quran.
Exactly.
That's what keeps happening every time. You always have to try to go to it. You try to bring up no one is good but God alone, and that's Jesus saying he is not good. Y'all keep trying to run away from this stuff, and it doesn't help you.
Yeah,
Period.
Unashamed has been trying to say something for a while now.
Sorry.
No, you're good, man. I felt bad that you kept on getting interrupted. That's why I shouted, and I'm not scared to shout because I'm from the Bronx. Anyways, so one simple point that I wanted to make was when you understand the language of Jesus' day regarding Greek, it's called Koine Greek. And Koine Greek simply means
Common.
common Greek. So if it's called Common Greek, logically, we would be able to come to the conclusion that it was a common language that was known. But see,
exactly what it was.
Here's the thing: this is what happens when people get into Islam, and I'm sure God Logic will agree with me. You start to get into an illiterate book, and then your logic starts to go down because you're following a prophet who endorses drinking camel urine and sleeping with a dead corpse of his aunt and so on. So, it's really that simple to understand.
So funny.
It really is that simple to understand when you understand the context.
Is that
and
worse than
understand
killing
things
God?
And Josephus, the works of Josephus is one of the best works we have on things that happened in the first century. So if you want to understand the world of Jesus'
He was a
day,
Roman
you
stooge.
would, you would read the works of Josephus. Okay? So this is so much more simple.
Josephus Flavius, the Roman stooge.
This is so much more simple than what you guys are trying to make it out to be. But that's the problem with Islam. You guys like to dance around things and avoid things when you're getting confronted.
Is Pope Francis a scholar?
And then you guys get angry when people try to question your prophet, but you're supposed to be the truth. If you were really secure in the truth of your prophet, you wouldn't get so defensive. But you're defensive because you're insecure in what your own prophet says.
You guys have
No,
never analyzed the true character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You've only ever come with all types of attacks against his character. You never really analyzed his real character or what he actually did.
Can somebody mute Derek, because literally he's just over talking people and nobody's listening.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, that I have to go back to that whole thing about holy equaling whole. That was the stupidest thing I have heard regarding the word holiness. The word holiness in Hebrew means kodesh. And
of course it does. You believe in three gods.
Sacred. It means to be sacred and set apart. It has nothing to do with whole like a circle. That
Shame is cooking right now.
Like that makes no sense. If you guys say that you look at the Old Testament, but meanwhile you're not even.
So you're saying God is not wholesome
in the Hebrew language?
No, nobody said anything of the sort. I don't know. Hold up. I think this is the last thing that we need to do, because Derek, he doesn't listen. And every single time somebody tries to explain something to him, he says some of the most out of pocket and ignorant things we have ever seen on this live stream. Like it's absolutely amazing to me how you can pull something completely out of the hat and try to project that as something that we've said. How do you describe somebody who is holy and who is set apart and who is separated from sin to, oh, you don't believe that he's one anymore? Where do you even get that? What synapses?
The word implies wholeness.
What synapses?
Holy,
what
wholesome,
synapses failed to fire in your brain that allowed you to connect those two thoughts together? Are you rubbing more than two brain cells together? Because it doesn't sound like that to me.
Man, y'all are getting
Derek needs
personal.
to join Uthman in his dawah.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. How about that?
We agree.
Yeah,
Amen.
It's almost as if Christians quote that every Lord's Day. It's almost as if we quote it every Lord's Day. And the Apostle Paul actually applies that in 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 6, applying it to the Father and the Son, calling Yahweh Jesus and Theos God the Father. So we actually understand what Deuteronomy 6:4 means. And we can actually quote it in Hebrew, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, and we can even quote it in Greek, Akue Israel.
Paul, the one who called Jesus' brother, a hypocrite.
If I could finish, Derek.
I think it's just time to move Derek down. I mean,
if I could finish, Derek. I
Avery,
could actually
live,
quote it
are
in
you guys
Greek
there?
as well.
Avery, get off your phone, boy. Get off your phone. You granted.
It's funny because we can explain
It
everything.
seems like it's manifest hour for Derek, so he's got to chill out.
We can explain everything under the sun to this man, and instead of actually listening, he'll pull up some random accusation out of the back of his neck and expect us to actually respond to it.
Right?
Like, what in the world?
Yeah, that's what happens. AZ, you here?
I'm listening. I'm researching.
And these are supposed to be
soaking all this in,
guys.
What are you trying to find out? Who Mark is?
No, I'm trying to figure out if Pope Francis is a scholar to you enough, because he's saying that Aramaic is the only
What does Pope Francis have a master's in?
Being the Pope, I don't know. You don't believe in popes? Some people believe that popes are holy and closer to God than regular people.
I don't personally, this is me personally, I don't think anybody is a scholar, technically, like authoritative scholar, unless they have a PhD in the actual field that you're talking about.
So does
Just
so does that
because
guy
just
that you
because
told me have a
someone's
PhD?
just because someone's a nice person doesn't mean that they actually have an
Yeah,
education in something.
yeah, and by the way, people with PhDs, they're human, they're fallacious, they're infallible. I mean, not fallible. They can mess up too. So even if you have a PhD, that doesn't mean that people can be wrong. But at the same time, Pope Francis has a master's in chemistry.
But would you say it's up for debate that Jesus spoke Greek, or are you saying it's a hard,
No,
cold
it's
fact
it's
set
not
in
up for
stone?
debate.
The
So
It's
it's a
only
not up
cold
for
fact
debate.
set in stone that he spoke Greek.
Yeah,
the
it's
Wait,
only
it's
not
a
up for
fact he
debate.
spoke Greek, but did he
It's the
write in
language.
Greek or
It's
just
the
speak?
language of first century Palestine. If
wait, hold
Jesus
on.
lived
Did
in first
Muhammad write
century
in Arabic?
Palestine, he spoke Greek.
Yeah, did Muhammad write in Arabic? No. The people who were his companions wrote down the things that he said in Arabic.
Good night. This is
Like,
sad.
I don't get it.
Jesus
Like,
spoke Arabic.
Alhamdulillah.
All right. Let me ask one more question. Then I'm gonna slide. I'm gonna just ask one question, and you tell me.
You ask a question
Christian,
after
You've
AZ.
been trying to slide for like half an hour, my guy.
ask me
that was
I just want a
sour.
Christian perspective on this. So when Jesus and I just it's a question, not a debate. I just want a Christian answer. So when Jesus in the Bible called someone a dog, I forgot he called someone a dog for basically being a disbeliever. And
Greek
obviously,
woman. I heard about
Lord
yeah,
this.
have mercy.
no, and
Are we really doing the whole Seraphonician woman nonsense again?
I'm
Yeah,
not arguing.
why
It's
did Luke leave
it's
it
not a
out then?
debate. It's not a debate. I just
Yeah,
want to
Nah,
ask
she's
a
a Greek
question.
woman.
Just let me ask a
Luke
question.
was also Greek.
So
He left
hold
it
on,
out for a reason.
hold on. So when Jesus called, obviously we both believe that Jesus is sinless, but when he called this woman a dog, so would it from a Christian perspective, would they justify, let's say, like calling a disbeliever a dog and not be counting as a sin?
So I would say that if you kind of read this passage, Jesus doesn't call her a dog, right? He uses
It's a
an
metaphor,
analogy,
technically. But yeah.
right? He uses an analogy in which she is in the relation in that analogy as a dog. But in the same way, if I were to say, who's better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan, if someone says that's like comparing apples to oranges, I'm not calling LeBron James an orange, right? I'm not calling
James
Michael
only right
Jordan.
here.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe we can chime in on that, right?
I'm kidding.
So
I'm totally kidding.
it's not accurate to say that Jesus called that woman a dog. Instead, he used an analogy in which she was like the dog in that, right? So if you think that people that are saying it's like apples and it's like comparing apples and oranges whenever they ask the question of is LeBron James or whatever better, it just doesn't follow, friends.
And even the Seraphonician woman picks up on the analogy. For she says, yes, Lord, but even the dogs are worthy to pick up the crumbs from the master's table. And Jesus calls it
Amen.
faith, which he says is rare even in Israel, and heals the woman's daughter. So,
She's more
if
Jewish.
anyone actually read what the text was, you wouldn't get this. You wouldn't get this interpretation from the passage.
Ironically, that passage also teaches that she's actually more true. She's more and more truly Jewish than the actual Pharisees and scribes of the day. She was more Jewish than the Jews of the day. She was a
Jew
true
is not
Jew.
one that is Jewish outwardly, circumcised outwardly, but one who is circumcised inwardly, whose praise is not from man, but from God. Romans 2.
So the answer is that he never called her a dog. It was a metaphorical statement that she understood. That's the answer.
Correct.
Okay, last question, real simple. When Jesus,
I thought you wait. Hold on.
This is
That was one last question
I
ago.
know, but
Hey,
but
Y'all answered that too easily. Y'all
But
answered
look,
that
First
too
question
easily.
didn't go over very
look,
well. We need a second
That
one.
went too well. That went too well. We gotta stump y'all a little bit.
No.
Y'all didn't even have to think about that one. We gotta get y'all thinking a little bit.
So
Oh my gosh.
no, it's simple
But
questions.
can I
that
ask a
might have
challenging one?
misunderstood. Did you just let me ask this because it might be easy. When Jesus, according to Christianity, was like died, did he go to hell?
No, he went to the realm of the dead.
So he didn't go to hell? Because I was reading a portion of it, and it was saying that he went what was it, down under the earth or something, or within the earth?
Yeah,
Which is called what?
Do you know what the place under the earth is called?
But I was looking up
Hades?
the rebut. But I was looking up the
Yeah,
rebuttal
it's
to it.
it's called Hades.
But I was looking up the rebuttal.
Hell. AZ, do you want an answer?
But hold on, I'm just let me say this, because I was looking up a rebuttal to the question, because I didn't want to just ask the question without looking up the rebuttal, and they had wrote that he went to hell to grab everybody out to take them to heaven. So that's not correct.
That's what's called the harrowing of Hades. In
Okay.
English, because our old English uses the one English word hell for two different Greek words, Hades and Gehenna. What you're referring to is what is called the harrowing of Hades, the realm of the dead. Gehenna, or hell, is a place of eternal punishment. Christ did not enter there. That is specifically for the devil and his angels. The harrowing of Hades is the realm of the dead, where there are two compartments, one of bliss and one of torment. Jesus went into the one of bliss with the righteous, preached the gospel to the faithful of Israel, and those who believed in him were carried with him up to heaven, and he proclaimed victory over those in torment. We find this in passages like 1 Peter and Ephesians 5.
All right.
Okay, can I ask
Thanks
a
for the
challenging
answer.
question? I just want to know your guys' view on this.
Sure.
It's not
I
really
appreciate
a
the
challenge, I guess. So, okay, so basically in I believe Matthew's gospel, I could be wrong, but like Judas, I believe he bought a field with the money. No, he threw it away. But in Luke, in Acts, it says that he bought a field
He
with
bought
it.
the field.
You guys know how to explain it.
Exactly. That's a contradiction.
Yeah, actually, it's
No,
not
no, no, no,
necessarily a
no. The
contradiction.
other one says he threw it at the temple.
Yeah,
Yeah, he threw it at the
I just
temple.
want
And
to
the other
know.
one says
I'm not like making.
the other one says he bought the field, right?
well,
Avery, why don't you
Yeah.
answer it?
yeah. The text specifically says that it's called he bought the field because it is his money. It is not their money. They said, it's
Oh,
tainted
that
money.
makes sense.
So
Actually,
they
yeah.
decide to buy the field in his name with his money. So it is his property.
Oh,
So he bought the
no,
field,
that makes sense. Actually.
but he did not physically purchase the field. Instead, he
Oh,
threw
so
it
yeah.
at his feet and went and hung himself.
So Luke just used it in a literal way. That makes sense. Actually,
Yes,
yeah.
I mean the man's a doctor, for goodness sake. He has to be not only financially, but literally accurate. This is why he's the one, I believe, who describes that he threw it down and then went to go buy it. But Matthew, the one who actually deals with monetary value and monetary property, says that he was the one who bought the field.
Good point.
Oh, that
Good
makes
point.
sense. Honestly, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That makes
Wait,
it
do you
easy.
guys?
I got a contradiction.
Yeah, one more actually. One more. I forgot this one specifically.
One more.
Actually, no, I don't have it on me right now.
One last
Milo,
question. One last question.
Milos, I want my $2, man.
I had it, but I don't have it. Thank you. Good day.
Hey, my prediction was actually
I want
not my
Zach.
words. Shaitan cast those words into my mouth, right? So you'll have to get your $2 from him.
And Allah will abrogate it later on.
How did you know? How did you know that it was Satan? Who told you that?
Well, after a period of time, Jibril comes down and he straightens the whole thing out, right? So it's not my fault.
No, that's a
Jibril-
full story, actually.
Just be
Can I
careful
explain
that he
why?
doesn't DDT you, man.
Wait.
What's
Are
a
you
full
guys
story?
talking
What do
about?
you mean?
Wait. Are you guys talking about the satanic verses?
Yes.
What makes you think that?
Well, I can easily debunk that in like 5 seconds.
Do it.
Let's get it.
Hold on,
All
I'll
right,
put
this
the
is
timer up.
easy. Okay.
Put the timer on. 5,
For sake,
4.
listen. Can I just explain it for like a
Okay,
little
go
while, I
ahead.
guess. Listen, for sake of argument, let's say that
We
Muhammad was a
listening.
false prophet. For sake of argument, let's say that, right? So for 20 years, for 2 decades, he's been preaching the Quran. He's been preaching Tawheed, right? And if he's a false prophet, he's already leading people astray. So why would Satan come along and say, okay, I'm going to lead this false prophet astray? And even if you say he had mental issues, the man has been consistent for 20 years. 20
No, he
years. Yes, bro. 20 years he's been preaching Tawheed.
Consistent.
Like, no, like he's been preaching monotheism. He's been literally like the book. Like, you find him like hating. You find his God hating polyism. Is it logical that Satan would just come along and just lead him astray? He's already leading people astray according to Christianity.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like
Not really.
he's preaching against the resurrection. He's preaching against the divinity. That doesn't make
in
sense,
some
man.
places.
Well, hang on, but
And there's no
even the
authentic. Just one more thing. There's no authentic source of this thing.
Not
It
true.
would basically be me like using the Gospel of Judas against you.
That's
The
not true at
Gospel of
all.
Judas against you.
The chain
Because
is
that book
Sahih.
basically.
The chain
It's
is
not
Sahih.
Sahih, man. It's
The
not
chain is
Sahih, bro.
Sahih according to your scholars.
It's not Sahih, bro.
Yes,
It is Sahih, but
It's
the
not.
difference is it's
Okay,
not
okay.
Mahfuz.
Let's
Do you
see.
know the difference between those two things?
By the way, I was just gonna mention, even the demons know that God is one. Good for you.
Correct.
No, bro, you missed my point completely,
I'm
respectfully,
just,
bro.
I
So
mean,
listen,
yeah, okay.
what I said is that according to Christianity, the message of Islam, the regular message is already leading people astray. So would Satan just come along one day and already just like, why even bother?
And
He's already
continue to lead even more astray. Now,
What
you
you're
think
doing
that
no.
here is
He's
you're
already
actually considering the idea that it's either Satan involved himself in this or not, right? But it's very possible that instead what happened is that the person, Muhammad, who was considering him, he was trying to build this coalition or whatever, for a certain period of time, he recognized monotheism to include veneration of like lesser gods, like Allah and Uzza and Manat. And then at a later point in time, he came along and he decided that he wasn't going to do that anymore, right? The occasion for revelation of this passage, search 2252, according to most of the works on the occasion for revelation, it says that this is related to bringing the Quraysh into the fold of Muhammad's followers. And then at a later point in time, it was corrected by Jibril, right? So no one has to say that Satan was actually involved in this to explain the idea that Muhammad at one point in time included Qurayshite lesser divinities as forms of like messengers, right? And then he later abrogated that and said that we don't accept female messengers. Because when you look at the argument that's made in Surah 53, the argument is not the idea that there are no appointed intercessory beings, but instead that those intercessory beings would not be women, because women are lesser than men, they're stupid, and so on and so forth. What, for you, the men, and for me, the daughters? No, that's not acceptable. So instead, there are acceptable intercessories in Islam that are acceptable, yet they're not women. At some point in time, Muhammad thought that having accessible female intercessories for Allah was not befitting, and instead the acceptable intercessories are only male, like Muhammad, Jibril, and so on and so forth.
okay. So
So I
basically,
wouldn't say
if
this
this
is debunked in
story,
5 minutes, friends.
I obviously debunked. Listen, man. Listen. So one more thing I'd like to add, like one more thing I'd like to add is that have you heard of the bell argument? You guys are using it. I believe
yeah. But wait, hold on a second. Before you go to the bell, wait, Zach. Before you go to the bell argument, you said that the satanic sources, like that narrative was weak, like it was daif. Why'd you say that? Because I said that
Fareed debunked it. Fareed responds.
Fareed responds.
Hey, that is Imam Fareed responds, friend. You will apply the correct honorifics.
Milos, do you have any insight on the satanic verses? Any deep study? I don't know. I actually wanted to hit you up about that.
I vaguely remember a work being produced that produces 51 different riwayah, and it points out that Sayuti is aware of at least one that is Sahih, right? He specifically says it, and then the other 51 are also widely recognized, right? And so, yeah, I would say that Shahab's work before Orthodoxy covers this pretty thoroughly. But what do I know? I'm not an imam like Fareed responds.
I'm gonna shake like God.
Okay. I don't have much time left. I have like 1 minute left. So on the bell argument, basically the bell, when it's when the messenger of Allah says it's the sound of Satan, he's referring to like the musical instrument, right? And when he hears the angel Gabriel bringing a message, it's like a ringing sound in his ear, but that's not exactly the same thing. Basically, I could make a similar argument, like when the Bible says, "This is not what about is." I'm just making a good example.
This is not about about. I'm just going to what about the Bible,
man?
I
know
it's going to be a logical fallacy, but I'm going to say that I do it, so it's okay.
Oh my God, bro. It's literally the same thing.
Equivalent of saying no offense before you say something offensive.
Nah, bro.
Real quick.
Listen,
Zach,
this is actually important. Listen.
Zach, hold on, Zach. Real quick. Zach.
Zach,
Zach, real quick.
Why are you running?
Real quick.
Why are you running?
Why are you running, bro?
Hey Zach,
I want-
Zach, you got smoke detector batteries?
Nah, bro. Listen. If the devil comes as an angel of light, and listen, if Gabriel is an angel of light, does that mean that the angel Gabriel is the devil? No, no. That does not mean the angel Gabriel is the devil. You're associating something, an element, that the devil can replicate.
He does if he
I
DDTs
understand
the
that.
guy 3
Is
times.
that a good point?
He does if he
No,
DDTs the
that's
guy
not a
3
good
times
point.
through saying
It
Wahi.
is a good point, bro. You're literally doing that, man.
Like
Yeah.
literally RKO's the guy from out of nowhere, so he runs out screaming, "Yeah, that's a demon."
Whenever
and
we're
No,
identifying,
opening up the mouth when he's getting revelations, then of course it has to be a demon. No angel of Yahweh.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
The
The
mouth,
what?
like having convulsions. That makes
Wait,
no
wait.
sense.
I can debunk this another way. Then why would, if he's getting revelations from the devil, then why would the devil say it's a sound from the bell is a sound from Satan? Why would he just debunk himself logically?
Because
He's
he
not
was not
debunking
smart.
himself. He's providing just a cover up. So if somebody
wasn't smart.
denounces Satan
No,
or says I take refuge from Satan, doesn't mean that he actually does. Joseph Smith has multiple verses being against Satan, but that doesn't dissuade the fact that you and I both believe that he did
Man.
receive revelation, but in fact, most likely he was possessed by the devil. Just
No,
because you say,
I'd rather say- no,
I
listen.
don't like Satan,"
I'd rather say
doesn't
Joseph
mean
Smith's just the man who invented stuff.
By
Because
the way,
he's been
speaking
preaching
of-
that's
polytheism
the
and
problem.
stuff.
Again, that you can't simply dissuade the possibility. Just because someone says, "Oh, I don't like Satan," doesn't mean that he's not satanic.
By the way, speaking of Satan using musical instruments, bro, you got Satan up in that house with that smoke detector playing the musical notes on me. You got to get that checked.
Oh, bro, it's my fucking smoke bell. It's a smoke
Your
thing.
house is smoking?
No, dude, it's just a sound, man.
No, it's
But
just
listen. I basically debunked your point on the bell, bro. It's literally I said
brought up
that.
the bell.
I did, bro.
How is it that we respond to everything that you said point for point, and then you immediately say you pause for
I
like
did.
3 seconds and then say, "Okay, I debunked you"? That
like
doesn't
the
make
Family
any
Guy.
logical sense.
That's like the Family Guy episode where Peter literally goes into the office and says, "And that's my plan." And the guy at the desk is literally like, "Wait, you didn't say anything. You just came into the room and sat down and literally said, 'This is my plan,' without actually saying anything." And then literally Peter goes, "Oh, well, in that case, 2 hours later, then he goes with the plan." Like, that's literally
It's
what
like
just happened.
Damask. My work here is done, but you didn't do anything.
I don't understand.
I did, bro.
how-
I said that basically
how
that's
Muhammad
referring to
was
music.
tortured,
Oh.
and that was an angel of God while receiving the revelations. How can this angel tortured him, and that's supposed to be revelation from Allah? There's nowhere in the Bible was a messenger of God tortured when receiving something from the Lord. So again, this is all simple logic here.
Can you turn your mic up by any chance? You're kind of low. You're
I
kind of low, by the
understand
way.
your
Can you
points,
turn?
man.
Hold on, Zach. Can you turn your mic up? Unashamed apologetics. You're kind of low a little bit.
Yeah, I understand your point, but what I said is
Can you hear me
basically
now?
that you hear me, right?
Well,
We hear
it's
you. It's unashamed apologetics. His mic
apologetics.
is a little low, but it's all good.
Can you guys hear me now?
There we go.
That's better.
That's better. Okay, sorry guys. I got new equipment, so I'm still
There you go.
adjusting
I'm still
stuff
working
here.
on that.
Listen,
Sorry guys, I'm coming off passionate. I have no chill for Islam, so like I'm
Listen, man.
patient with a lot of other things, but not with Islam.
Yeah.
I'm patient with Islam, but not like Unitarians. Can't stand them.
It'll be the day.
Same
It'll be the day
thing.
when I actually finally do debate Chris LaSala. We've had our discussions so far, but
He's in the-
we're still
He's
yet
in the chat, by the way.
to get in the boxing ring. I'm just waiting for the right time for that. Just
I'm in my
waiting.
villain arc. I don't like nobody.
listen.
Hey, Zach.
He loves me though.
But yeah, I got no chill for Islam, so I apologize, guys, if I've been coming off really strong. I'm usually a lot more patient, but when it comes to Islam, especially false prophet Muhammad, I got no chill.
Pretty soon, I'm gonna debate Milos on the LPT. the logical problem of Tawheed. I'm gonna get him on that one.
Oh,
Which
got
A
it.
lot. Wait. On this topic, man. Listen.
Got it.
Listen. Just one more simple question. One more
Hey,
simple question.
before we move on,
Wait, Zach,
I'd like
hold
to
on,
make
Zach.
one.
That's two in a row, Zach. Hold on, let me ask you something. Do you know the problem with Mary in your Quran?
Ooh, I was gonna go to
Oh,
this.
this argument has been debunked, bro. I know
Yeah,
what you're
Also,
gonna say.
Family
I know what you're
Guy,
gonna
Peter
say.
Griffin is
Hey,
coming
bro, you're
in.
using old argument. This argument has been debunked 1,400 years ago.
You know what the
And
argument is?
I know you.
uh,
I know what you're
wait,
talking about.
Oh,
wait, what?
please. I wanna
The argument
hear if
was
it is
debunked
Okay,
anything
just
different.
say it. Just say it. I'll
1,400 years. The argument was debunked before the Quran existed.
no. I mean, 1,400 years ago. I meant to say.
That's
Listen. Just say the argument. I know
It's
what you're
the
gonna say.
same. That's the same number. It's the same number.
What the? He literally was
Just,
like,
Oh
no,
Lord.
not 1,400 years ago, 1,400 years ago.
so you don't even have a good argument, don't you?
What
what?
is going on?
Before we
What?
move on to
Just
that real
saying the
quick, I'd like
argument.
to say something real quick, right?
Oh,
Another,
dude, you're
when we're
starting to
talking
get
about,
down to Derek's level. I promise you, man. I've been laying down my hands for you, but if you keep that
You
up, I'm
gotta
gonna
clip
start losing
that.
my cherub like demeanor. It
You
ain't
gotta
gonna
clip
be pretty.
that. I don't mean 1,400 years ago. I mean 1,400.
Yeah, I just said the wrong number. That's not something to clip, bro. I thought
Bro,
I
you
just
The
started
said
same
the
clipping.
exact
number.
same number in two different ways. What you mean, fam? What
No,
you mean?
bro.
Nah,
It
bro,
was
I
debunked
stuttered, man. That's
1,400
not
years
something.
ago. No, I
Zach.
mean,
You
It's
tired,
a slip
Zach.
of the tongue. It's all right. It happens to everybody.
It's
Just
all
get
right,
to the
man.
just get to the
No,
My,
I
the,
was
Milos,
just
the
focused on the
Milos was trying to
discussion,
say
man.
something though, fellas.
just give us the response.
Listen, man. Listen,
what
guys.
I was going to say here real quick, if you don't mind, Zach, is the other point that we're making about Jabril is that Jabril, his interaction with Muhammad is actually inconsistent with the angelic interaction with other people in the Quran as well, right? Like Mary, whenever Jabril talks to Mary, she isn't terrified and shaken and has to run away and ask like Jews or someone else about, oh, what's happening with this? Instead, she understands. She's consistent with the concept of angels and so on and so forth. It is
So,
only
okay.
Muhammad that does not recognize the words of Allah as being the unimitable speech of Allah when he first hears it. He instead finds out that the speech that he's hearing through the, we'll use air quotes, angel Jabril is the inimitable speech of Allah that is asked to be recognized by all Muslims as being only something that could possibly come from Allah after going and asking some other guy. The first story is Muhammad is shaken by this being, and then he goes and he hides himself under the clothing of his wife, and then his wife says, oh, go ask this my other cousin or whatever. This is completely inconsistent with all of the other angelic interaction in
Wait,
the Quran,
bro. My phone is better.
notably
Okay.
Maryam, whoever that
Battery is one. But can I say one statement, bro? About the 1,400 years ago, the number I said. I know it's the same number, but I thought I said 1,400. But I thought I said 14,000 for a second. So that's why, man. If someone tries to clip that, bro,
You're really
I just
embarrassed by
made a
that, aren't
mistake,
you?
bro. That's
Just
what I
move
thought I
on,
said.
bro. Just move on.
I know, but I thought I said 14,000 for a second. That's why.
Sure.
I was gonna ask you
Thank you,
who's.
guys.
I was gonna ask you who's Mary's father in the Quran.
I'm wrong. My phone's 1%, bro. So I'll try to
Yeah,
continue it.
we'll
But
do it
I'm
later. We'll do it later. We'll do it
okay,
later.
but I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say that the
Oh, you're on 1%,
sister of
but you
Aaron.
want to debunk?
Yeah, no, I know, but it's the sister of Aaron. You're gonna say, right?
I got enough battery
Oh,
percentage to debunk you.
hey,
Yeah,
Zach,
just get it
man,
out.
Zach,
Wait.
man.
I wanna hear this. Let him get it out. Let him get it out.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
come on
bro,
with it.
this
Shout
has
out to
been
Radar
debunked in the hadith,
Apologetics
man.
for the super chat.
When listen, when the Christian and Jews asked Prophet Muhammad, he said that it's the title of honor. Debunked.
False.
Huh?
And
Prove it wrong.
nowhere in Jewish theology, nowhere in Jewish practice has
Title of
anything
honor.
like that ever been used as a title of honor.
Jesus called son of
And
David.
even then, the only other argument that I've seen from that is that it's referring to somebody in their lineage. However, Mary is not part of the Levitical tribe, such as Imran, Moses, and Miriam, the actual daughter of Imran and sister of Aaron and Moses. She's from the tribe of Judah, the descendant of David. Completely different tribe, completely different lineage.
Okay, man. Fine. But
We
listen,
actually
it's
just
been
had
debunked. It's been
the
debunked. So
feast
you believe
day
that? You
for
believe
her.
that,
We
but it's
actually
been
just
debunked in
had
the
the
hadith.
feast day for her parents just a few days ago. If I can actually find the day.
Listen. If we apply the same standard to you, I'm just saying. No. This is on the topic of Mary, of course, right? So listen.
Here
Who
comes the
is the
Jewish
father of
mythology
Joseph?
again.
Who was the father of Joseph? Was it Haley or
This
Jacob?
is this is
Yeah,
See,
I
this
can
no,
I
no,
can
because you asked me the
fallacy.
question, so I'm just asking you the
Yeah,
question back.
we can actually have a response to this in Levitical practice. It is typical
Ah, okay,
for
go ahead.
the for because of the Levirate law. If a father if his father dies, they are
I saw
adopted.
that and I busted out laughing.
Yes, 0.5% exactly. So we could actually see from the Levirate law, because Heli is the adopted father because of the Levirate law, his biological father died, and so he becomes his stepfather. He is also called his father. Both lineages come from the same pathway back to David. So we actually have a historical, biblical, and an actual explanation for this passage. You don't.
Hold up.
You don't.
Hold up.
And also you can't
drop.
run from this, Zach. 33 to 35 destroys you. It says, indeed, Allah chose Adam, Noah, the family of Abraham, and the family of Imran above all people of their time. Then it goes to 34. They are descendants of one another. Then we go down to 35. And what does it say? Remember when the wife of who? Imran says, my Lord, I dedicate what is in my womb entirely to your service, so accept it from me. You alone are truly all hearing and all knowing. And then 36, when she delivered, she said, my Lord, I have given birth to a girl, and Allah fully knew what she had delivered, and the male is not like the female. I have named her Mary, and I seek your protection for her and her offspring from Satan. And if you're a footnoter, this is talking about Jesus.
Uthman's a footnoter.
Every child is touched by Shaitan when they are born,
Hidden
and they
footnote.
cry because of this contact, except
Jesus and
Jesus
his
and
mother. So this dude got his timelines all wrong. He talking about somebody 1,000 years before
wait.
Mary, and he said
But wait.
this is her father.
But hold on. Remember, it's not a book of history. It's a book of religion. Doesn't matter.
Oh,
It doesn't matter.
Yes,
right.
that's right.
Mashallah.
History.
Mashallah.
Mashallah. Alhamdulillah.
See, this is why the Quran butchers itself.
Oh, it's about that time. It's about that time. Hold on, y'all. So I'm not gonna lie. Whatever one of you guys wants to put this brother in correction. I did allow Miles to wait until the Muslims were all done, and he needs to be put in correction on his understanding of the Trinity. So I know Black Doctor, Avery, Hunter. I know you guys are good at it. Unashamed. No disrespect. I first time I saw you. But if you're good, jump in. Milos, I know you're, really, really good. So we got some equipped guys. We got some equipped guys up here. So Miles, of course, you would be able to lay out your foundation first, and you guys can go ahead and get to it.
All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream right here. Good to see you guys.
We're 5 hours in.
Go ahead, Miles. Go ahead, lay it out. Give it to us.
Do you guys believe that Jesus is the angel of the Lord?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you believe that Jesus is the Father?
No.
Do you believe that Jesus is the Holy Spirit?
No.
No.
Okay, so what I want you to do. That's okay. My fiance is coming in from the airport. I'm just making sure she's okay.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'm engaged too.
Oh.
I'm not. Really? Are y'all serious?
Random from out of nowhere.
It was. All right.
You guys have no sensitivity. I can't come to you guys with my troubles.
Bro, I just was not ready for that.
Hunter,
Okay?
I'm sorry, you just caught me off guard.
That's crazy. Y'all my brothers. I can't even confide in y'all.
It's all good, bro. It's all good.
You're the only one that ain't married, brother. Sorry. You'll get there. You'll get there, Avery.
Wow. Look at the chat going off.
So who's the one that needs to be corrected on the Trinity again?
Radar.
So I wanted to
Radar, bro.
Go to John 14:14. Go to John 14:14.
Oh Lord, here we go.
Mm-hmm. You want me to you want me to be the verse puller?
Go ahead.
All right. Read. John 14.
Oh my
King
gosh.
James version.
Oh my gosh. Heretic.
The only version.
No.
Anyways, wow, y'all can't be
John-
serious.
Yeah,
Avery,
let's do it. Let's do it. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. John 14, what?
John 14:14.
I got you, brother. Got you, brother. Pew.
God, Avery.
Oh, that's Twitter.
Hey, reader, zoom in.
Zooming in. John 14. Zoomed in.
The crap.
I can't.
What's going on?
All right, go ahead.
You guys ready? Okay.
Yeah.
So it says, if ye shall ask anything in my name, I will do it. If ye love me, keep my commandments, and I will pray the Father. 1 second.
Well, I was about to say, like, is that the background music that's going to be in this narration right now? That was going to be pretty sick.
And I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter. Right? Who do you guys believe the comforter is?
The Holy Spirit, as he says in verse 26.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Paracletos.
Perfect. And so I will give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever, even the Spirit of truth. The truth is the important part, because what Jesus called himself, right? Whom the world cannot receive, because it seeth him not, neither knoweth him, but ye know him. So Jesus is saying, you know who the Spirit of truth is that hasn't been sent yet. Explain. So that's just one part. He's saying you know him. It hasn't been sent yet, but you know him. Right? And for he dwelleth with you. Again, it hasn't been sent yet. For he dwelleth with you and shall be in you. I will not leave you comfortless. I will come to you yet a little while, and the world seeth me no more. But you
believe that Jesus is the Holy Spirit?
Absolutely.
All right. When he says that I will send you another comforter, what does another mean?
He just said after that's me. So
no, he didn't. When he says I will send you another comforter, so Jesus is already a comforter that's there, right?
Yeah. What was he conceived by?
And then he says that he'll send another. He says he'll send another comforter, right?
1 second. I'm sorry.
All right.
Well, you better answer that call, boy.
No.
Beyonce blowing you up.
Oh my gosh. Y'all are on something.
Hell had no fury like a woman scorned.
So then Jesus transforms into the Holy Spirit, dwells in us, but isn't on the throne, even though Stephen clearly saw him seated at the right hand of power.
He's omnipresent, man. Are you not knowing that?
That's their claim.
That should be.
That's their claim.
That typically is.
Got to be like 4 steps ahead.
I've dealt with enough oneness folks to know that's their answer. It's always their answer. Whenever you try to provide a distinction, it's either that's the flesh or God's omnipresent.
Bro, I hope nobody's home with you right now while you're yelling like that.
This is how they be all the time. I deal with these.
Oh my goodness!
That's the flesh. This an hour ago.
But then that would contradict when.
Yeah.
But then that would contradict when Jesus said it's better that he goes because then he can send the comforter.
Yeah, of course. So, it contradicts the very verse that says, I will send another. That's why I want to know what another means.
And if he is the Father, why is he asking the Father?
Additionally, in John, when it says, I must go so that he shall come, right? So the idea that Jesus must go so that he can come back, difficult for me to understand.
There's a distinction.
And it can't.
Can you guys hear me?
It can't get past Acts 2. But you're muted right now, Miles.
Chris,
hello.
We giving it to him. He was just on the phone. We're waiting for him to get back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Miles. So what? When he says another comforter, what does another mean?
I alone Parakleton.
If I have an in and out.
What did he do at the cross?
If I have an in and out shake and I say, don't worry, I'm gonna give you another In-N-Out shake. Does that mean I'm gonna give you the same one?
A more relevant example
Of
might
course,
be like
it's the same type of shake.
the same type, right? But we're talking about identity here, right?
What did you give up on the cross?
Hold on. No, this is actually a good question. Miles, I'm sorry.
Yep.
When you notice it's the same type, but is it the same exact cup?
He is. He's saying, I'm not going to leave you comfortless.
Is it the same exact cup in Avery's example?
No,
If he says,
saying,
I'm going to give you another
I mean, you're
cup.
making an example that's outside of the Bible. I'm saying he said,
No.
I'm not going to leave you comfortless.
Just follow the parable.
We're just
follow
trying to understand the meaning of words.
If I say I have a cup, a shake, and don't worry, I'm going to give you another shake. Right? I'm not going to leave you shakeless. I'm going to give you another shake. Does that mean that I'm going to give you the same shake that's in my hand?
Hold on, one second.
Give you another one. I had this conversation with a friend of mine years ago, and when I asked him, what does it mean when he says he's going to send another comforter? He says he's going to send the same comforter. I fell out. I couldn't hold it. I promise you, my roommate would tell you, I was on the floor for like 15 minutes. I'm not kidding.
Another means the same. Stupid
head.
All of y'all are wrong because this is Muhammad.
No.
So I don't know.
That solves it.
What we're doing.
That solves it right there.
I don't know what we're doing here.
I was thinking that's where I was going to go to, honestly.
Exactly.
If I may, I just looked at the word another in Greek, and it quite literally means another. It is a primary word. It means another or other. So this is not difficult to understand.
Actually, if you alone actually has where it's talking about more than two.
Yep.
Or of more than two specifically, with the Greek. Actually, can I find my
it's allos. It's a pronoun, accusative masculine singular.
Well, yeah. Well, I was talking about specifically. It's alon. It has the.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was referring to the root word.
Yeah, but pretty much what I was referring to is like, so alone refers to it can of more than two. So pretty much when it's talking about another, it's literally referring to something else.
Yep.
But Miles, though, and referencing how it's like of the same substance. Yeah, we can agree with that. But nonetheless, it's not Jesus. It's another.
Another one. Well, another definition would be additional.
Another one.
It's not the same kind. It's an additional that resembles the same kind.
Yes.
But Jesus spoke Aramaic, so it doesn't
matter.
Oh my gosh.
Is that a sound bite?
No, that's just me.
Hold on, Radar.
Wow.
If Radar is watching this, go back, click that laugh, clip it, send it to me. I'm going to put that in my soundboard. Thank you.
Clip the Audible. Clip
yes.
that.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Please.
That just sounded so.
I need to get my. I am a medical doctor. As a soundbite too.
Yeah. So.
Anyways, man.
I think Miles is. I think he might have gotten a.
Is he back?
He's probably on the phone with his fiance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it though. Well, wait, me right now. I'll be leaving out, y'all.
His name is Miles West. Does that mean that he is an amalgamation of Miles Morales and Wally West?
He can't be. Miles Morales is a genius.
Facts.
Miles Morales will be a Trinitarian.
By the way, look at what Life did. Are you the one that just pulled this up?
Of course, Life ain't.
No, I didn't pull that up.
God Logic did it.
Heard. Yeah. So literally, exactly what I was saying. Of more than two, and then, like Doctor, you were talking about the root word allos there.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to bring up, let's see. Hold on. Let me go back to it real quick.
Hold on, y'all. I got a phone call. Hold on.
Crap. Oh yeah. There you go. Highlight the word different. Let's see.
Different in the sense that it means the same. You know?
What? Bro, sometimes the English language gives me a headache. Just you by saying that alone.
That's because you need to learn Arabic.
Spider-Man, didn't you say it was the same? I didn't. He talking stupid.
Miles is not running, guys. Trust me, that man is a very confident dude. He's not running from nothing. His wife is calling. He's making sure the wife is good. He's not running from nothing. This dude's been wanting to do this for days. He's been hunting life.
Oh yeah, he ready. Oh yeah, Miles is ready. He trust me. He want this.
Hey, if you're gonna talk about hunting, that's my name. You don't use that word. You can only use it for me. That's my name.
It's not your word.
It's literally my name. Literally. Verbatim. Literally.
Verbatim.
Bro, ever since then I've been using that word like crazy.
For real. Verbatim.
You would need it. Oh, gosh. Dude, look at the super chat. That was so funny. He'll need another girlfriend if he doesn't pick her up. That was funny. That was pretty funny. I like that one.
That's really funny, actually.
He'll need another girlfriend if he doesn't pick her up. Oh man. That was funny.
Oh shoot.
Anyways.
Wow, man.
Wow.
So wait, is Miles, is he
Well. Sorry. Look who it is.
Oh man, now we're about to have to sound. Hold on. We're in the building now. Okay, so yep. Yours is just. You know what? What's up?
All right. That is not me doing that, man.
Oh, that wasn't. Those were your sound effects.
Nah, that was me.
Oh yeah.
Not all of them.
But they're like. Hold on, we're looping. Hold on for a second.
You're looping.
I'm looping. Hold on.
What the heck? And he's gone. All right, rewind.
It's so funny how his professional picture is versus how he always looks.
Exactly. The man, he is literally the spitting picture of get you a man who can do both.
Bro, people are on fire tonight. What is this?
Oh man, I am tired, and I have
so glad I'm a part of this.
I have a Hebrew 2 final.
You a man who can
I
do
am going
both.
off today. I need some serotonin in my life.
Oh my gosh,
that is genius, bro. Oh man, Derek's back. Heck no.
Oh, Derek.
Derek, don't even
Let's
start.
see if I'm looping.
Derek, don't go there.
Derek,
you see Derek in the private chat trying to throw stones, man.
Oh, nice. I'm here. Mr. Radar. Mr. Radar, how are you?
What's up? Am I looping now? Am I good?
You're good on this, man.
All right, I'm good. All right, cool.
So I've been waiting to ask you this. Would you be willing to debate Tobias Singer?
Who?
Tobias Singer, a real rabbi. Would you be willing to
say
debate?
what's his name? Can you say it again?
Tobias Singer?
Tobias Singer. You chicken nugget.
Tobias, whatever his name is, right?
Really familiar fellow.
How you?
he can't even get that.
I just like watching him wreck you guys. That's the only reason why I watch him.
Brother, let me ask you a question. Who has he ever wrecked in his whole entire life?
Based.
Michael Brown took his cookies. Hold on for a second. Michael Brown took his cookies back in the 90s. He's been crying about it ever since, bro. This is what he sound like. Know what I mean? And you could send him that clip. Tell him to come get it if he wants to.
No, why don't you debate him if he's really nobody?
Bro, listen, Derek, you're the one coming up here like his cheerleader, brother. You're the one coming up here like his cheerleader, brother. Why don't you tell him to come bring it?
I'm just saying because he's a real rabbi. You're a fake rabbi. I want to see y'all debate.
I thought he was about to say he's a real rapper.
Derek. We all know that you love to give other left shoulders right shoulder privileges. And we always give all of our friends left shoulder privileges or right shoulder privileges. But one thing that you're not going to do, you're not going to do.
Tell him.
What am I
You're
not going to do
be a
according
Momo
to you?
maid for Tobias Singer. If you want to debate Tobias Singer, challenge him to debate Radar.
Bring it on.
But he's a big person. You guys are little. How's he ever going to come down here?
Then why would you ever have? If we're so little, why would you ask
him to come up
there?
there?
Yeah.
Okay,
Bro, you guys have a somewhat platform to where you guys could actually reach out to him and say, we want to sit down with you and talk.
Why don't you go and do it?
Yeah.
Because I'm not the one claiming to be a rabbi.
If you want it done so much, why don't you go and do it? Tell him to debate Radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You tell him.
Yeah.
All right, I guess.
Because Derek, you coming up in here like this.
Why don't you debate Tobias Singer? Why don't you do it? Go ahead, make it happen.
You sound like the only chicken nugget girlfriend cheerleader, bro. What's wrong with you, dog?
Bro,
Come
I'm
on,
about
man.
to sit on you. What are you talking about?
What you doing up here, brother? Why don't you go debate?
Tobias Singer, why don't you go make that?
Why don't you go call him and
All
tell him
I'm
to bring it
saying
on?
is
and
he's
we
a
can make
real
it happen?
rabbi, right? A real Orthodox rabbi. Why don't you debate him? You always debate
I'll be
people
honest
who
with you,
are
bro. I'm
not qualified.
I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. You sound like you got a crush on him. It's all good though, brother. We got
Bro, I'll
music for that,
crush your
man.
face. How about that?
We got music for it, bro. It's all good, baby. I know.
Oh my.
So you guys
It's good to
can't,
have that
so
love,
you guys
baby. It's
can
good to
or
have that
won't.
love, man. It's good to have
So
that
you guys
love, baby.
can't or won't. I mean, he's an OG. There's no doubt about that, right? And
Derek,
I mean,
fake imam.
we believe in the same
Fake
God
imam,
as him.
hello.
You know, he even talks about Muslims, and he says that we are the cousins of his people. He calls the Muslim people the cousins.
That's okay. It's fun that he twerks for the Muslims, but they would never twerk the same for him. You might be the only one, but no, you all know that once they get in power, nobody's going to be twerking.
Bro, I will
for
twerk my
Tobias.
gun on your face. What are you talking about?
Oh, now we're getting threatening, huh?
Fake imam.
You think you bad?
Brother, I know what time it is with me.
Okay, hold up.
Toby is the one that's been avoiding. Okay, Toby is the one that's running. And nobody else is running from.
He has a
Toby
talk
Singer.
show. You could just call him.
I'll keep it.
I message him all the time. He always avoids. So you don't know what you're talking about.
So
but
I already.
Okay, you're a fake imam. You know everything about Islam, but.
Yeah.
I asked Bryson Gray, who knows Tobias Singer, to set up the debate between myself and Tobias Singer. I asked him to do that. And so, I waited for him to do that. I don't know if he's interested in doing that, but that happened in real life. Nobody's running from it, brother.
Hey, Derek, how would you prove,
that's the only thing.
Derek, how would you prove to Tobias Singer that Jesus is the Messiah? How would you prove that to him?
Question.
So the easiest way to prove to a Jew that Jesus is actually their Messiah is to let them know that we still apply the law in a religion where we believe in him and we believe in the Jewish scriptures as well. So that's the reason why he doesn't deal with it. Like the Jews don't deal with Christians because they look at your book and they're like, Greek, yeah, right. And then they look at your laws and they say, what about all the laws that we had from Moses? Like you just throw them away? Like all of a sudden they don't matter anymore?
So you eat camel, Derek?
We have Sharia, right? So we have Sharia now.
Do you eat camel?
I personally never tried it, so I can't say that I do.
That's not what I asked. I said, do Muslims eat camel? Do you eat camel?
Maybe some bacon bits.
No, yeah. According to our Sharia law, they have the open hoof,
That's
right?
a
They have a
violation of
closed
the Mosaic law. You don't follow the same laws. You don't. So
right.
so
They have
don't
the
lie
closed
to us.
hoof, so that means that they're the type of animal you can eat.
According to the Torah, according to the Torah, can you eat camel? Closed
that
hoof
was
or
prohibited.
open?
That was actually something prohibited to the Jews.
So then why are you saying
so you
that
don't follow the same laws?
Why are you saying that we can prove that Jesus is the Messiah by showing we follow the same laws when this is just one example that you don't?
Do you follow the Sabbath? Do you honor the Sabbath day?
Ooh, that's a great one.
So we have many within Sharia. There's many similarities. Will they be exactly the same? No, but the basic principles, the purification, the basic principles. We have our own Sabbath, what we call our own Sabbath, right? We have
So you
the day
don't.
of
So you
Juma, which
violate
is
the
a
fourth
Friday.
commandment. You violate the fourth commandment. You don't follow the
Very
same
sad,
laws.
man. It's very sad.
It's
Let me.
not
Do
that.
you,
It's
do you
that
observe?
Allah
Do
has
you,
ordained these things for us as a community.
do you
He
observe?
ordained
You follow
different
the
things
same
for
Wait,
them
wait,
as
wait,
their
wait, wait, wait.
community.
Do you observe Passover?
We observe a lot of the real
Do
Jewish
you observe
traditions.
Passover?
No, we don't observe Passover.
So you don't follow the Torah.
Oh,
Do you,
Rabbi,
do
Rabbi,
you,
sorry,
do you,
continue.
do you,
Like I
do you,
said,
fo- do you
Sharia
follow the laws
law
of
is not
atonement? Do you
exactly
follow the
alike
laws
to
of
it,
atonement? Do
but
you
it
follow the
is,
laws of atonement?
like I said, Sharia law is not exactly as their law, but the
Do you follow the
similarities are
laws of
there.
atonement?
He just debunked himself.
No, why would we follow the laws of atonement?
Why would you follow the laws of atonement?
Yeah.
Because according to you, that would help prove to the Jew that Jesus is the Messiah.
They have
Showing that
certain
you follow this.
practices that they do that we also do. And these similarities could help them understand that the
We're
religion
done,
has
man.
evolved.
Hey, did you
It's all
realize
right,
yet
listen.
that your point is stupid? Like the point that you made was stupid. It was
Because,
ridiculous.
I mean, to even introduce Jesus to them, we would have to introduce the idea that it has evolved into that now.
So
That things have changed.
again, I'll give you another try. How would you prove to Tovia Singer that Jesus is the Messiah? How would you prove that to him?
The only way to prove it is to say that a testimony came to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam about Jesus being the Messiah.
Okay.
All right.
And why should
Can I
they
have the main
believe
can I have the
you?
main screen?
Sure. Hold on.
Somebody's got a little bit
So
of feedback.
Derek, I know it's hard, man, being the kind of guy that you are, you know what I'm saying? Being in love the way that you are. But don't worry, my friend. You'll have your chance. Here he is. You can look at that lovely face and tell him how you really feel, man. Go ahead, Derek, if you would. Let your words out, brother. Tell us how you feel about Toivaya, your
Thank you for
nickname.
exposing the fact that the
Sing
Greeks
it.
completely
Come
butchered
on.
the Old
Tell him how you
Testament in order
feel.
to make it fit
Sing
into
to
the
the
new
man.
one.
Sing to him. There
Thank
he
you
goes.
for
He's there for you, brother.
exposing the fact that the Hebrew
Tell him how you
scriptures
feel.
have nothing to
You know
do
what? You
with
know
a
what I
lot
think
of
it is?
things in the New
I think
Testament.
I'm getting in the way. Here you go. Let me help you out. Tell him.
What the crap?
Like, we didn't know the original language.
Derek,
We didn't know what the Bible
I
said.
love you.
But your clarifications upon
You and
it
me, we
helped us
serve the same
understand
God.
that a lot of the New Testament is
You
a
and me,
farce.
we serve the same God. Don't worry. Yes.
We're cousins. We're cousins.
You know,
Tell him
like
how you feel,
the
Eric.
Christians had told us so many things about the Old Testament. The Christians had told us so many things about the Old Testament and how it fits into the New. Thank you for exposing the fact that none of that is actually true.
I'm done.
Oh, I am
You're
in
good?
tears.
That was funny.
Oh
Hello?
my goodness, that's great.
How to be loved.
Somebody
Hello?
clip that.
I didn't read
Look here,
Hebrew,
Rabbi. Look
so I
here.
didn't know what the actual text says. Thank you, because I never even bothered to look into the predecessors of Christianity up until this man, but his explanation of things is good. I like to know these things.
So you like how he
there you
explains
go.
how Jesus
There you
isn't the
go.
Messiah?
Well, he explains that the people who wrote the New Testament
I didn't
butchered
ask
his
that.
scriptures
Do you like
and then
how he
slapped it
explains?
onto
Do you
his
like how he
scriptures.
explains
didn't
how
butcher
Jesus
it.
is
They
not the
actually
Messiah?
got it.
Do you like how he explains how Jesus is not the Messiah and how he makes it his mission to
He
make sure the world
explains-
knows that he's not the Messiah?
Yeah,
You
he
like
explains from his viewpoint there's no way that the Bible gives that the New Testament gives a clear picture of Jesus as the Messiah as he should be.
No. He goes so far to say, Derek, that there's no way in the world that Jesus is a Messiah. He's a false Messiah, a false prophet. You love this message that Tovia is
If he's
spreading?
reading the New Testament and we all know all of
Can
his
you
flaws,
like
so
Derek?
of course
Derek,
he's
can
going
you
to come to that
answer the question,
conclusion.
Derek? Can you answer the question? Do you like that he pushes this message that Jesus in no way, shape, or form is the Messiah? Matter of fact, he's a false prophet, a false Messiah.
No, I mean, he's going too far there, right?
What do you mean he's going too far?
exposing-
You said you
in
love his breakdowns. You
It's
love
the
how he
same
explains
standard.
things.
It's
the
the
way that
same.
the New Testament,
Derek, don't you
the
recognize
New
that the
Testament
same
writers
argumentation that he
misuse
uses
the
to
Hebrew
try to
scriptures.
attack the New Testament is the same one that he uses to say that Jesus is a false Messiah and a false prophet and that nobody should believe in him, including you, Momo maids?
Because of the way that he's portrayed in the New Testament. If he wasn't portrayed in such a manner as the Son of God, he would more than likely come around to the fact that he was the
You would
Messiah.
never. Oh my goodness. See this
So
right
here,
Wait.
if you've seen Tobias Singer enough, so because you're so obsessed with him, you constantly sing his praises. You'd kiss his feet if you had the chance. So let me ask you this question: have you heard him talk about the Jesus portrayed in the Quran as if he would fit the Jewish Messiah? Have you?
All he said, the only thing I've ever heard him say about Jesus in the Quran is that he comes as a messenger and not as the Son of God. So, in as much as he finds that more reasonable than saying that he was God himself, yes, I've heard him say that.
So you think he would say that Islam would actually portray Jesus as a real Messiah?
Look, he's obviously a Jew, no matter
It's a
which
yes
way
or,
you
it's a
paint
yes
it,
or no,
right?
Derek.
There's
It's
no
a yes
doubt
or
about
no.
that.
You've been
He's
able to
obviously a
answer all
Jew.
these questions earlier. It's just a simple yes or no. This is the simplest question I've asked you. Yes or no?
No, they're diametrically opposed. No.
Can I ask a
Exactly.
question?
Exactly. Thank you for proving my point. We can all go home.
So,
Already home.
Derek, if I could, be serious for a second, I don't know if I can, but you talked about the Greek and how that was problematic.
This
Right,
will be the
right.
third conversation we've had about this.
Mhm.
You think it's a problem that the New Testament was written in Greek?
No, because it's for a Greek audience, so obviously it wouldn't make sense if it
But
was written in
you
Greek.
said that's cool, but you said there was an issue with the Greek. What was your issue with the Greek from Tovia
My-
Singer's perspective?
Oh, right. That basically in Judaism, they kind of view it as their language the way that Muslims view Arabic, that they try to preserve it in as much as possible, and they wouldn't just jump to Greek to begin unveiling revelations from God because Greek was separate from everything that was Jewish.
I don't think Derek remembers what he actually said. What he actually said, I took note of it. He said that if you brought the New Testament to Jews, they would reject it because it was Greek, right? I think the Council of Jabni would disagree, which I suspect that's what you're going to talk about, right, Radar?
Yeah, well,
and even the Greek Septuagint.
Yeah, let Radar go.
Let me do my thing, chicken wings. Come on, y'all killing me out here, man. Let me cook. You know what I'm saying? Let me put my chef hat on.
Perform, maestro.
Oh my gosh.
All right, y'all ready? All right, so my man was saying how it couldn't be Greek, but if I could share my screen real quick, let me share my screen. Entire screen. Let me do this screen right here. All right, this is from Megillah 9b. And this is basically the Mishnah cites that Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, even regard to Torah scrolls, okay, the sages permit them to be written only in Greek. Out of all the languages that exist, you can only write a Torah scroll inside of Greek according to Judaism. So as you talk about Tovia Singer, who you look at with googly eyes, you are misrepresenting his position, even from the Talmudic perspective. And even Tovia Singer himself falls apart in this, saying, when did God ever speak Greek? He's totally inconsistent. I have a whole video on this. In Megillah 9b, in the Talmud, the rabbis themselves allow Torah scrolls to be written in Greek. Actually, it is the only other language that can convey the nuances and the depth of the Hebrew, according to the sages of Judaism. So what do you think about that?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
But Tovia Singer, he's so great.
Fake him on his speech right now.
Well, yeah, brother.
I'd like to add another passage of Megillah 18 Megillah as well, which is 18. Here it says, What are the circumstances in this case? We're just talking about translations. If we say that the Megillah was written in the original biblical text, i.e. in Hebrew, and he read in the Aramaic translation, then this is the same as reading it by heart. In Megillah 18, it also goes on to say that reading it in Greek is the same as reciting it from your heart, right? So there's no idea of this superiority of the Hebrew or whatever over the Greek when it comes to written scripture.
My point in sharing that was that he was saying how Rabbi Tovia Singer should be against it, but he can't, because even according to the Talmud itself, it allows the source scrolls, which is the most sacred thing, to be debated in to be placed in Hebrew.
What's wrong, Derek? You were talking all that good stuff a second ago.
Well, you guys just cut my mic off, okay? That's cool. But it's funny how you say that I'm a Tovia fan and you have some type of cutout of him ready to go, okay? But
I did that for you, man.
Listen, the bottom line is the common folks, the common people of Jesus' time and of his culture and of his what his mission was for,
Derek,
the lost sheep of Israel.
Don't you lie. Don't you lie. We already did this twice. Don't you lie to me again. Don't you dare lie to me again.
He didn't even want to speak to a Samaritan, but I'm expected to believe that he picked up Greek and just started using it to what? For what?
Do you know what job Jesus had before he began his ministry? Because he was only in ministry for 3 years. What did he
was just
do?
like a simple
What did he
carpenter.
do from 12 to 30?
Just like a simple carpenter. It doesn't really go into details about what his life was.
The word used is a tecton. He's
Right.
a stonemason.
It's really basic on those points.
So he would build houses.
I mean, there's an entire...
He would build auditoriums. He would
There's
build
an entire 20 years from his life in the
places for Greek entertainment. So if he's going to build stuff for Greek entertainment and do stuff with Greek businessmen, he would have to know the language of commerce, would he not, Derek?
When he went to the temple, did he not say, "Woman, did you not know I have to be about my father's work?" And now you're telling me that he was building things for Greek?
He didn't even say that to anyone in the temple. This is Jesus at 12 being led home from the temple by his father and mother. Something completely different to what I asked.
And I'm saying that if he told them that his business here on earth was to propagate the deen, where do you come up with he was some type of Greek artisan or something retarded like that?
I never said that he was a Greek artisan. Do you know what a stonemason is?
Derek must be deaf.
He is deaf.
It doesn't matter what his profession was. He could have easily dealt with the local people.
I know Shaitan might be peeing in your ears right now because he does that for all of you Momo maids, but I want you to listen very carefully here. A stonemason is not an artisan. It is a builder who works with stones and with wood, but primarily a blue-collar construction worker. So he wouldn't be an artisan, he'd be a construction worker. This is how he would make money for himself and for his family before he engaged in ministry. So I will ask you again. When you're
this is incredible. You're telling me God came to earth so he could build a bunch of stuff for Greek?
Derek. If you would close your mouth, you might actually learn something here. If somebody is engaging in the language of commerce and business with Greeks from the age of 12 to the age of 30, how would one not know the language in which they're speaking in order to conduct business?
How would one know what happened between those years if not even a little bit of it is mentioned?
Well, actually,
it literally says that he grew up being a stonemason like his father.
Literally, Milo's talked about that earlier and referencing that Greek was a common language then, and that they actually saw it to be a case to actually learn Greek in the land in which Jesus actually lived in during the time of the Roman Empire. What I want to know is, do you actually have anything to substantiate anything you've said about this? Because ultimately, all you're just stating is your own personal opinion and claims, while we are giving you historical evidence to show exactly why it is the case that Jesus actually might have indeed spoke Greek as well as Aramaic and Hebrew.
Like all
Yeah,
of them from Jewish
that's the
sources,
irony behind it.
Josephus, and from the Talmud.
Yeah.
I just do not understand what purpose that would serve if he's trying to speak to Jews.
You don't hold on. Hang on. Hang on.
So just because you don't
Okay,
understand it means that it's not possible. Derek, I will say this with
Like
the
Dr. Redman
utmost
Man.
respect. Your cognitive functions do not determine truth. They are bad enough to even understand a coherent explanation, let alone understand the language of first century Jews.
Well, I know 1 + 1 + 1 doesn't equal
somebody
1.
with somebody hold up, man. Somebody as ignorant as you should not be as loud as you are. He really should not.
Here's what I know for a fact, right? God is one. He's whole. He's holy. He spoke to the Prophet Muhammad
We
and
believe he's
spelled
one
it all
too,
out in the
Yeah,
Quran
we
in
get
such a simple
your
way
dawa.
that
Your
even a
breakdown of
retard
dawa.
like
You're not
you could
answering the
understand
question.
it.
Hold on. Derek, just real
Be
quick.
charitable, man.
If you know basic math, what is so like? Say for example, you said 1 + 1 + 1. What is 1 times 1 times 1?
It's always just gonna be 1. Yes. What about that?
What is 1 times 1 times 1?
It's always just gonna be 1.
Right. No matter how many times you multiply 1 times 1.
Right. The same way. You know what? I get you're trying to be funny, right? But you're trying to compare that,
No, I'm
right,
not trying to be funny
to
at
a
all.
man and then a spiritual being.
All right. Can I share my screen really quick, if that's all right again? So we have to understand when we talk about Hebrew and we're beginning to define terms, we have to allow the Hebrew to speak for itself. So I'll make this a little bigger so everybody can see it. But when we get to Genesis 37:16, we have a really interesting phrase, and most Unitarians, Muslims really can't understand it. And it says, "And you, son of man, take for yourself 1 stick, and write on it for Judah and for the sons of his companions. And then take another stick and write on it for Joseph, stick of Ephraim, his companions." Okay. Then another stick that they may become one in your hand. Okay. Now let's look at this verse 37:17. Okay. So you will gather, take, join, put together them 1 to 1, and it will be one wood or tree, and they will be for you ones. Here we have 1 + 1 equaling what? 1. And then it goes on to qualify by saying that it will be ones. This is in the Hebrew. 100%. The book of Ezekiel itself is telling us that 1, v'koravotam echad, plus echad, and it will be inside. It will be le'etz echad. It will be 1 tree, 1 stick, and it will be for you ones.
I'm proud because I understood a good bit of that. I understood a good bit of
How about
Hebrew.
this? God
You
lacks
with me,
nothing.
Derek? Hold on, Derek. Please
God
stop,
lacks
please.
nothing.
Derek,
He is
hold on for a second,
unbroken,
Derek.
undamaged.
Fake Imam.
Derek.
Let Rabbi speak.
Derek, what do you think of what I just said, my friend?
About the wood? About some wood? About the
All right.
word used to
I'm gonna-
describe this wood that you're talking
Let
about?
me explain it to you again. When we say the Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is what? 1. And many times you just said 1 + 1 + 1 does not equal 1. Well, let's look at this, right? It says, join them for yourself 1 to another 1, that they may become what? How many? How many, Derek?
So were
Join
they
the
3
one
parts
stick.
before, or were they just 1 part before?
The scripture is saying you take 1 stick, echad, you put it to another stick, echad, and what is it going to be? 1 in your hand. So, but look at the Hebrew. It misses it in the English. The koravotam, you take them, echad elchad, 1 and 1, and it will be 8 echad. It will be for you 1 stick. And then it goes on to qualify by saying they will be achdim, the plural of 1, which is ones in your hand. This is the mistake when we try to qualify echad or oneness or the complexity of God's unity using solely English. We're not allowing the Hebrew Bible to qualify its own terms, to define its own terms and its own words. It's problematic. You just said 1 + 1 + 1 does not equal 1. Well, according to Ezekiel 37:17, 1 + 1 does indeed equal 1, and then it qualifies it as ones. Here we have an image of the complexity of God's unity, my friend.
Well, Radar,
Perfect.
I mean,
Perfect.
with
How
all due
about
respect, he wasn't listening to you.
I
Because in your
was
first,
listening to him. I
because in
just
your
don't
first,
think that it's
because
an
in your first,
appropriate example.
Derek, I'm speaking, man. Show some respect. The only reason he wasn't listening to you because in your first explanation, he was just ranting in the private chat. That's what he was doing.
Take a break, Derek. Good night, man.
Hello.
Hello.
Where'd Derek go?
Yeah, well,
Hello. Oh, Derek left.
I kicked him.
Mom ran away.
Oh yeah, you kicked him.
I removed him.
All high and mighty in his chair right now.
Hello.
Yeah, I
Alright,
would
well.
say that the price of Derek re-entering the chat is him to demonstrate that he understands what we've been saying, right? Once
He
he
needs to
can
pay
like
the jizya.
accurately restate anything that we've said, that proves that he's at least been listening, right?
Or
if he can't do that, I don't know.
Or pay the jizya. He's gonna
All
have to
right.
pay a $5 super chat if he wants to join from now on.
He'll have to pay it in the way that Jews and Christians had to pay it in Andalusia, where they would be grabbed by the neck and said, "Oh, enemy of Allah, pay this so that we do not do this to you."
Grab him by the neck.
Maybe he'll make a mistake.
What a
Maybe he'll
stream.
make a mistake and make it a $50 super chat. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
$1,400. Yeah.
By Allah's will.
God logic.
Kelly says silence. This is what the piece of Jesus is like.
Jimby has asked you a question, Brother Logic.
Yeah. Well, first of all, dude, I like your videos. I love your videos so much, bro. I've been binge watching your videos like for like the past few days.
Oh wow. Go ahead,
yeah.
What did I tell you? I said that before, did I not?
You did say that before.
I'm not the only one. I keep telling you.
Yeah. It's God. It's God logic. I like my bad.
God logic.
Just for whenever God Logic ever comes into the room or anything, I literally actually.
Oh my God!
Logic.
Logic.
Just for you, man. Just for you. Anytime you ever come into my room or you're ever doing anything and I see it, I got that ready to go.
What's up, Hunter? Hunter, you trying to take my fire, bro? With the sound effect? What you doing, bro?
Inspire me so much, bro. I'm trying to I'm like a off-brand.
Nah, I'm with it, man. Do your thing, bro. Nah, bro, you're doing good, man. Send me a message, bro. Let me know what you're doing. I'll help out however I can.
Game recognized game. Let's go.
Got you, bro.
I've actually had it, just for the record. I just haven't used it until I see other people using it. So I'm just like, yeah, why not?
Okay, man, bring it out.
Nearly not as
Bring it out.
cool, but yeah, yeah, recognized.
Nah, you're doing good, man. You're doing good.
You got to get the voice changer.
Hold on. Wait, hold on. I thought I had that. Hang on a second. Hold on a second. Wait.
Oh, you got to figure it out before, bro. You can't go looking for it.
Does it work? Is it working now? Hold on. Oh, that's why. Hold on.
The brother might have a question, guys. Let's let him ask his question.
So
sorry.
You know Issa Dawa, right? Like you debated with him like months ago.
Yeah, I remember him.
Oh, dude. I actually want to say a story, but basically, in your debate where you're talking whether the Bible's corrupted, you mentioned like a hadith where like it says that Muhammad had like the Injil of his time, right? And I actually wanted to find. I was like, ooh, that's such a good argument.
Yeah.
I was wondering like, what is it?
Yes, there's a couple of them, so let me give it to you. If anybody has some other ones on deck, if you, I'm gonna give you the one where he put the Torah in the judgment seat. You familiar with that one?
No, not really.
Okay, so we're gonna put all the links. We're gonna put all the links in the private chat right here. You can copy and save them to your phone and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Milos and others. Milos, you remember the hadith where it says Warwick was writing the gospel?
Ooh, I have that citation in a PowerPoint. Let me see if I can pull that up.
I'm gonna get the one where he puts the Torah in the judgment seat. Can somebody pull up the hadith where it says Warwick used to write the gospel?
Yep.
All right. Now Warwick, do you know who Warwick is? Jim?
No.
All right. So Warwick is the uncle of his wife, of his wife Khadijah. Okay. And so Warwick, actually, Muhammad was really close with Warwick. He was a Christian that Muhammad was really close to and really looked up to and learned a lot from, actually.
It's his cousin, to be exact. Pardon me, it's his cousin.
It's
her
it's the
cousin.
wife. It's the wife's cousin. Okay.
Yes.
It's his wife's. It's his first wife's cousin, Khadijah. It's her cousin. His
Okay.
first wife. And yeah, so he was a Christian who used to write the gospel. You know, he used to write down the gospels, copies of the gospel, and stuff like that in Muhammad's time. So he had access to the gospel. So I'm gonna get you the Torah hadith, and we're gonna get you that gospel hadith too.
Let's go.
So the
Yeah.
Waraka Hadith, I've posted it in the room chat. It's just literally number 3 in Sahih Bukhari.
Beautiful.
And this is a relevant passage. It says this is talking about Waraka. He would write from the gospel in Hebrew as much as Allah wished him to write. He was an old man and had lost his eyesight, blah, blah, so on and so forth. So this is talking about before the death of Waraka. Waraka would write from the gospel in Hebrew, which possibly means the diatessaron notation. Sometimes authors don't make a distinction between Hebrew and Aramaic. We have no idea if Imam Bukhari recognized that distinction or whatever the case is. Additionally, the hadith material are not believed to be transmitted in like a word-for-word sense. Instead, the hadith is a restatement of the understanding of the person that transmitted it. So anyone that appeals to the idea that, oh, well, it says the gospel in Hebrew, well, that's just how the transmitters understood it there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, W.
All right, and then we also have this hadith right here. This is the one that we really love to use. This one right here. This is, and I'm gonna put the link in the chat. It's Sunan Abu Dawood 4449. Should be easy to remember. 4449 Abu Dawood. Okay? I'm gonna put it in the chat. Remember, save these links, bro. Save these links, these references. Always keep them to where you can easily access it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna screenshot it. Oh, and I also have a second question. What's the website you use for? I think it was yesterday's live stream where you were showing how Allah prayed to or prayed for or whatever it is. Prayed for Muhammad.
Praise for Muhammad. Yeah, I'll show you that right after this.
Dude, oh, thank you. Dude, oh man, the whole day, like today, I was trying to look for that website. I was like, what is that website, man? And like, oh man.
Yeah, I got you, man. Of course, I got you. No worries, bro.
Bro was honestly about to make me go into my Muhammadi job impression.
You've been on one today. I don't know why I stopped now.
He prays for the prophet, not to the prophet.
All right, so narrated Abdullah ibn Umar, right?
Mm-hmm.
A group of Jews. Dang, I sound like Milo saying right after every freaking second. A group of Jews.
It's catchy,
right?
isn't it?
It is catchy. Came and invited the messenger of Allah to Kuf. So he visited them in their school. They said, Abdul Qasim, one of our men has committed fornication with a woman. So pronounce judgment upon them. They placed a cushion for the messenger of Allah, who sat on it and said, bring the Torah. It was then brought.
That's not what I thought you were going to say for some reason. I thought you were going to say something else from back in my childhood. Never mind.
I was like, oh, that's awesome, man. That's cool. I love it.
So the Torah was then brought. He then withdrew the cushion from beneath him and placed the Torah on it, saying, I believe in thee and in him who revealed thee. He then said, bring me one who is learned among you. Then a young man was brought. The transmitter then mentioned the rest of the tradition of stoning, similar to the one transmitted by Malik from Nafi. So according to this hadith, it's great Hassan, so it's good. They can't say it's weak by Al-Albani, who's a big scholar. They can't say it's weak. Muhammad puts the Torah in the judgment seat during his time and says that the Torah was good enough to judge by and to make judgments and to live by in guidance. So that's that, man. That's a cut.
Holy
right
smokes, dude.
Yeah. It's a cut.
It's great, isn't it?
Chris is here.
Yeah. Wait a minute. When, in my opinion, I think when Muhammad says, "I believe in thee who revealed thee," I think he was a Christian, bro.
The original Muhammad was a Christian. That's the, until they distorted the Quran and distorted his story.
Oh my God, that's true.
Yeah. So let's see. So that's that. Let me move this down. So yeah, you got all those links there, bro. Oh, you wanted the site. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. On the site. I also
All
want
right.
to tell you like
So,
a story about because I actually debated with Issa Dao like weeks ago.
oh, you
It's really
did.
fun. Yeah, it's really funny. It was yeah.
Issa Dawa is not he's something else, man. So here it is in the private chat as well, and also I'm gonna put it in the regular chat for those who also want this resource.
Nice.
Pull this up. All right.
Nice.
And so yeah, you can just go here, bro, and you can just put in whatever verse you're looking for, and you can click any of these translators that you're looking for. All right. Now the translators that translate those prayer verses correctly is Palmer. We're gonna go to Palmer in these verses. Right, chapter 2, verse 157, 33:43, 33:56. Go to those verses, pick the Palmer translation. You also want to show them the Arabic transliteration so they can't lie. So you can show them the word, the Arabic word that's being used, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so gets it wrong here, but you go straight here, you ask them, what is salawatun? What is salawatun? They'll tell you it's prayers in the plural. Salawat. Tune is prayers in the word, and salat is prayer in the singular. Right?
Holy smokes, dude.
So yeah, here you go. 33:43, 33:56. Show me any English translation that translates it as praise. Okay, we got you. He it is who prays for you, and his angels too. They do the same thing to bring you forth out of the darkness into the light, for he is merciful to the believers.
Holy smokes, dude.
So there you go. You got that for you, man.
Oh, thank you, man.
Of course.
It's such a relief that I kept like in my head. I made a theory. I made up a theory for that. I was like, wait, what if it was like some like really old website that he found like way back machine or something?
No, yeah, it's right here, man. It's
right finally, here. Thank you.
Shimon gave me this.
Yeah. Oh, can I tell you the story that I had with the debate with Issa Dawa?
Sure, man. We listening.
So like this was weeks ago, right? Basically, no. Here's what happened. I was on TikTok. I was scrolling, right, and I joined this Muslim live, right? It was TikTok live. I was like, oh, I'm gonna join them. I'm gonna try to debate with them. I'm not really that good of debating, anyways, because yeah, I need to learn and stuff. So I was debating with them for a while, right? And then Issa Dawa joined, and like we were talking, and then he gave me this atheistic argument. I'm pretty sure y'all heard it before, but it was the mustard seed parable in Matthew. And he gave me it, right? And he said, "Look, Jesus said that the mustard seed is the smallest seed in the world." And I said, "No, because if you read the whole verse, it shows that it's in his field. It's in the farmer's field, right?"
Yeah, it's local.
And that was just the whole entire lie. Basically, I was telling him like, "No, it's the field. It's the field." And then he started like, "Oh man, I'm not saying that all Muslims are like this, because like there was actually a few Muslims that told him to stop doing this, but basically." He started like just cussing me out for some reason.
Yeah, I think I was there actually. I remember that.
Were you?
Yeah,
Really?
I was sitting. They wouldn't bring me up.
Oh wait. You probably saw me then. Did you see someone?
I was this recent, like maybe a week ago?
I think it was probably like 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. I don't know.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
1400. I mean, 1.4 thousand years ago.
Yeah. I was
well,
there.
did
I was
you
there.
see someone with? Yeah. Did you see someone with the profile picture I have of Jesus, the one that I have right now?
I don't remember the profile picture, but I just remember a young guy talking with some Muslims, and then Issa Dawa came up, brought up this mustard seed argument.
It was definitely me.
Yep, you gave that art. You gave your defense, and he manifested.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, I saw that.
Gosh.
They wouldn't let me up in that TikTok live. It was a Muslim live, guys. They wouldn't let me up.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll say it to you again and to like everyone here then. So basically, like he was just cussing me out, right? And like I kept telling him like, dude, it's I literally debunked you so many times. It's in the field. And oh my gosh, and then someone else like who signed with him said like, no, it's he said it's the smallest seed it's the smallest seed in the world. And I said no, because if you look at the context, it literally shows that it's in his field. And then he said my bad. And then he said he like
I think he was in his desk. Like all I heard was him like slamming
Cooking.
his desk, and then he yelled, "It doesn't matter!" Like yelling.
Yeah. He went crazy. He went
I
crazy,
know. I
man.
was like, dude, come on.
Yeah, you wasn't the only one who saw that. Yeah, dude went crazy and thought he could bully you guys up there. That was
I
funny.
know, it was so crazy. I was like, dude, come on. And like, what's
That's what
crazy
happened.
is my bad. What's crazy is I don't know if you remember, but he apologized to everyone saying I'm sorry for cussing, and then everyone forgave him. And then afterwards he said, "But I'm not sorry to you." And I was like, what did I do?
Oh, I ended up leaving. Yeah, I
Well,
was
but
like,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's
what happened. Yeah, that's what happened afterwards. I was like, dude, come on, man. Like
He's
be
on TikTok
charitable.
right now with like
What's
three
up?
other Muslims.
Wait, what's up?
He's on TikTok like right now.
Oh, right now, what is he doing?
I have absolutely no idea. I'm not listening to that garbage.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. He was so uncharitable. It was so funny though, because like it was just, oh man, I was laughing the whole entire time because I was like, dude, what's wrong with you, bro? Are you good? Like, I don't know. I just,
Chris, you. Yeah. No, it's good. Did you get everything you needed, bro? Because you know you're more than welcome to hit me up anytime, man. I'm on TikTok too, so if you want to message me, any
I
questions,
followed you on TikTok.
For sure.
Yeah, one of my a Christian brother actually like introduced me to your account. Like,
praise God.
Yeah, I was on like a Muslim live, and they told me that apparently Psalm 5:16 was about Muhammad, and I already knew that wasn't true, but I didn't have the energy to argue, so I was like, oh, okay. And then they introduced me to your video, and I was like, oh, who's this guy? And it was like where you said like, oh, it just says Mahmadin, and then you said, oh, you want to know who is Prophet? And I was like, wait, what? And I thought, Yeshua. I was like, wait, oh my gosh, that's so cool, man.
That's funny.
Pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yo, God bless you, bro. Stay prayed up,
God bless
man.
you, bro. Thank you, bro.
Thank you
Thank you for sending me the links, man.
Of course, bro. Of course. Anytime.
Yeah, all right. See you, man. Bye.
All right, take care.
Yeah.
You too. Chris, man, you 6 hours late, man. You wanted to join the party late? We about to wrap up, bro. But I wanted to bring you up, man. Say hi, whatever. You joined up. You're muted.
If you guys are too tired to deal with me right now, I'll come back another day.
Prince of Unitarians has arrived, everybody.
But he's not a Unitarian. He was actually about to debunk the modalists.
What? Oh yeah. I'm not a Unitarian.
Yeah.
How can you call me a Unitarian?
By the way, Chris, you keep talking to Rob.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's what others have called you.
They're wrong.
I was just going based on hearsay.
He is pre-Trinitarian right now.
I am.
Praise
and
the Lord.
I always have been a proto-Trinitarian and an anti-Nicene monarchy believer. So, Unitarians deny pre-existence. I don't.
Yeah.
So.
Which that was an interesting conversation you had with Sean. It seemed like you even got thrown off by like previous conversations you had with him.
Which one? I've had a few with him already.
The one that you just had, I can't. Was I a part of that one? I can't remember. I just remember watching it somehow on the screen.
Well, and, I was trying to prove to Sean that Jesus is the angel of the Lord, and I was using verses to show that he's called the angel of the Lord is called the arm of the Lord.
Right.
And then, yeah, go ahead.
Well, and I remember you talking about from like previous discussions you had with him that it was like you were like thrown off by the conversations you guys had before about that, which he is a Unitarian, correct?
I don't know what he calls himself. He believes that Jesus came out of the Father similar to me, but he's in his articulation, he's got a lower view of Christ's divinity than I do.
Interesting.
So in many areas, he would say like he doesn't say Jesus is God as comfortably as I do, like capital God, God, So, or at least capital G.
I think I just broke my mic.
There's a lot of stuff Sean believes I don't agree with. I'm not into the law keeping. I don't agree with it. To me, Jesus is the angel of the Lord. To me, Jesus could be called God in almost every sense, except that I believe he's not unbegotten like the Father, as the church fathers would say. So
that'd be a good conversation to have with him and Bryson Gray about the keeping the law and stuff like that.
well, Bryson Gray just got wiped up pretty good by Jay Dyer on that. So I don't think anyone ever. I mean, why would anyone else need to debate that again?
Yeah, you know? I saw part of that, and it was intense.
I need to check that out,
bro. It was intense.
Yeah, I want.
It was. Jay Dyer, he was coming in hard on him.
Hey, it's Jay Dyer. What do you expect?
Honestly, I haven't even watched that much of Jay Dyer. I didn't even know about him until Actually, I take that back. I was subscribed, forgot about him. No offense, it's just a lot of stuff going on, and came back and then randomly just saw that, and he is going at it. He is going at the dude's throat with a knife. I was like, oh my god,
he is heavy. He used to be reformed, but now he's Orthodox and all the Orthodox.
Him and Sam need to get in one room together.
Oh man, that room would be on fire.
I'm about to close down, guys. It's 10:16 now. We did work today, man. We did work.
10,
bro. Hey, one came to the faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus.
Hallelujah. We got one.
Man, I'm glad I caught that. That was awesome.
Oh, DJ, what's going on? Yeah.
What's going on, brothers? Man, I'm so happy to hear about Umar. That young brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
They already saying that.
Praise God.
They already saying that was a skit.
Yeah, bro.
I bet they are.
go post that on Instagram and share one message, or tag one message foundation. Be like, ex-Muslim came to Christianity or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just saying.
With that being said, yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. Milos, you still there, man?
I am here. Yes.
Man, you gotta start coming on more often, man. It usually doesn't go this long. Trust me. This was one of the live streams.
Yeah, it never goes this long.
It doesn't go this long. But we were just having fun today. We were just chilling. But you gotta start coming on more often, man. We have a lot of fun.
Y'all have jokes, right? So
yeah.
Pretty funny guys,
bro. Jokes for days, man.
All right.
Could have kept going.
For real. This was fun, man. This was really fun. But yeah, guys, y'all take care. Chris, come on next time, man. Don't be so late. We'll have energy for you.
Well, I swung through before, but your boy One Way was there, and I figured me and him are like oil and water, so I figured let you have your stream, let you have your time with your apologetics, and I'll come another day, But it's all good. I was gonna let you guys each come at me one by one and just see what you could do, but I like being the only one here, because it's better.
Nobody just disturbs your flow and where you're going with it and stuff.
You know what's funny too? Your best friend Rob was also trying to get in as well. He was like, "Should I join?" I was like, "Oh yeah, Chris is here now. You got to join." So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll talk to Rob if he wants to do a stream or whatever. But I'm
still trying to do part 2 of our last conversation. But I didn't save your email. I got it though now from Rob, so I still got to set that up, and we'll make something happen.
Can y'all hurry up and do that? Can y'all do that this week or something? That would be good to see.
We can try.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff going on, so maybe just let me know what day.
We'll figure something out.
I just feel like if I'm by myself, it's better than if I'm next to 2 new people that believe similar to me, because people tend to focus on them, and then to me, it's just a waste of time. They've been doing it 3-4 months. They have no clue. They're walking into every trap under the sun. Easy work.
You're used to the combat, so you'll be more ready. You're saying.
You sound like you know that from experience.
I can assure you I'll be more ready than some of the stuff I see happening to these other guys.
Chris,
I got some
while I'm watching it, I'm like, no.
Stop it.
Chris, when you were 3 months, when you were about 3 to 4 months into where you are now with your beliefs, did you used to walk into the traps too?
Yeah, a little bit. Not as much as these guys, because I was studying for 5 years before I started debating. Not like these guys. It's like the first year they believe it, they're already in the stream debating.
Throw them into the lion's den and let them suffer.
But you guys got to realize, like, with your belief, you have like hundreds and hundreds of years of like a developed apologetic. So like for people on the other end, they're on the up, they're building up. Even now with the internet, it's building up. But like you have the advantage. Like there's been a lot of books written. It's been the mainstream thing. Like of course I feel like my belief is an orthodoxy, but like I saw one thing you did to Bryson, where he was saying that Jesus didn't raise him like only the Father. I'm like, dude, this is like. Like they're making easy work of you, man. Like, you know, I like Bryson because he believes similar to me, and I believe he's trying to start.
He's cool.
Learning how to articulate what I believe, but I think he should chill on debating for a season.
I think him and Don both personally.
Yeah, but like for me, Don's more real. At least he'll admit that.
Yeah.
Like Bryson's real in a different way. Like he's real. Like he'll speak his mind, but I don't think he wants to admit he should study a few more years before actually debating, you know?
That would be wisdom, for sure.
Hopefully we could talk with you, Chris, because I got some pre-Nicene church father quotes. Maybe you know them already, but next time, hopefully, we'll see if you want to accept them or not. But
real quick, since I'm co-streaming right now as well, let me just give a quick shout out to my audience who's watching. I am about to shut down the stream, and so to everybody who is watching, I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me as well. And then everybody who's watching on the other live streams, thanks so much for watching. We've been at this literally half a day, pretty much. I'm like, what am I doing?
This is a whole work shift.
Yeah, so like. Thanks everybody for watching everything. If you haven't liked or subscribed yet, go ahead and do that because it helps build the algorithm, and that way we can have more conversations with more people, spread more good news to more awesome people like we've talked to today, and help, even if it's one person, grow in their faith. It's praise be to God.
Praise be to God.
I'm gonna shut down my live stream. So love all you guys, and I'm going to bed.
Yeah,
it's past midnight, and I gotta get up in less than 5 hours.
Good night, y'all. Y'all take care, man. Good night, everybody.
God bless. Grace and peace.
Grace and peace. See you.